And we're live. Hey everyone, this is I believe the 5th episode of the Garret Schuelke podcast. I'm Garret Schuelke, and I'm here at the Elmblad Media Group studios at the Park Trade Center in Kalamazoo, as usual, with my homie / editor, Zach Elmblad.
Yow!
Zach, how's it been, my friend? You know, this is a monthly podcast, but once again, I got too busy these past 2 months with my day job and had to wait.
Yeah, I mean, I've been busy too. It's been a busy summer. Also busy with my day job, you could call it. Been shooting a lot of real estate photos, so.
Oh yeah, that does go up in summer, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I had like 15 total listings in December, maybe 30. And I want to say I've been doing 20 a week for the last 2 months straight. Like, on the road at 8 a.m., driving all over the state of Michigan, or the southern half of the state of Michigan, and getting back to my office at like 5 or 6 p.m., and then another 8-hour day of editing after that. But my income has been commensurate with that amount of work, so I'm a little thrilled about that. I've been able to get like a savings pad and, you know, that kind of thing, so that when winter time comes and I got a lot of time to do work, then we'll be able to get some new projects off the ground because I'll have a little bit of money saved up. So,
very nice.
You know, Elmblad Media Group is definitely scheming on some new film projects, and you know, I'd really like to finish my manuscript this year because I haven't been writing that much these last couple of years. I got to change that.
Oh, do tell. What is this manuscript?
Normal on Trial is going to be my 6th book, 4th novel. I am finally switching over to a third-person omniscient narrator instead of a first-person narrator. And it's still going to be like semi-autobiographical / allegorical, but it's basically, I'm going to tell the story from the perspective of 2 people. The male is Jeremiah Livingston, and the female is Priscilla Rose. And at the beginning of the book, they're in a sort of unhealthy but functioning relationship. And then we're going to examine the degradation of that relationship from both parties' perspectives. Mm-hmm. And then the rising action of the book is going to be what happens after they split up, and how each of the paths that they choose eventually lead them to the understanding that neither and both were at fault for the split up. And then there's going to be a reconnection at the end. But the female, Priscilla, is going to go on a nationwide tour of summer music festivals, and the male character is going to go for a month-long hike on the Appalachian Trail. And those 2 goals will end up bringing them both exactly what they wanted out of life and everything that they ever did not want to have happen in their life. So
nice.
I've got it pretty well fleshed out. I got pages and pages and pages of notes. I've got about 175, 200 pages into the manuscript already, but that's mostly the relationship stuff at the beginning. So,
when did you start this?
Probably about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, maybe. I mean, I've been working on it a long time. I haven't really been talking about it much just because I haven't worked on it, you know?
Well, perfect time to talk about it now.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I would still have to sort of collect my notes to really tell you a good idea of what's going on. But actually, we have this notebook here. You can kind of see where I've been working on it.
The one with your notes and your famous lyrics.
Yeah. So, April 25th, 2016 is when some of these notes are from. So, it's definitely been a work in progress for a while, but now I'm comfortable saying that it's definitely going to happen, and that I think the manuscript has flesh enough for me to want to actually finish it.
Oh, nice.
Go all the way.
So, you say this is in the same continuity as Borderline Vagabond?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a follow-up to Borderline Vagabond, in the same way that Borderline Vagabond was kind of a follow-up to my first two books as the organic conclusion of what my, like, line of questioning in the first two books brought me to. And so you could look at Normal on Trial as being the, like, what happened to the Borderline Vagabond after he gave up his vagrancy and came home to, like, face his future. And at the end of the book Borderline Vagabond, there's an interaction between the main character and like trucker guy, and sort of gives him a charge for the future. And so we're going to flash forward 6 or 7 years after Borderline Vagabond gets back from the road and, you know, started to make what he considered adult decisions, started to seek certain things in his life, and then it backfired. You know, but also he's going to find some peace in that. He's going to find a lot of understanding. And also, I really like to tackle the complicated nature of, like, the balance of respect in a modern male-female relationship that is cognizant of the errors of the past in terms of misogyny and that kind of thing. I'd really like to address that a little bit. I'm not sure how, but that's like gender politics. I think I'm gonna address a little bit in the most tactful way I can. But I think I've got a little bit to say on that end, and hopefully it comes out in a positive way. That's what I'm looking for.
Not like completely alt-right or anything.
No, of course not. And I mean, that's not really where my beliefs lie. But also, as a man, I've had some run-ins with some bullshit that I think get covered up in the modern conversation about relationships. And I'd like to touch those nerves without offending anybody, but probably making people uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, well, you're gonna offend someone for something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't.
I guess as long as it's not like, oh, why don't women stay in the kitchen more? You know,
Certainly not that. No, it's more about the desire of, or how are we gonna, as a society, overcome both the transgressions of the past and the fight for gender equanimity instead of equality. So, like,
what's equanimity?
Now we're starting to talk about like, I can't give you a harsh definition. Let's look it up, because really what I'm getting at is, like, I want to talk about post-equality. So, like, the fact that men and women are biologically different, but seeking equality, and what does that necessarily mean? Are we looking for equal treatment? Are we looking for just general, like, abject equality? Like, all of the good things and all of the bad things in the world can happen to both genders, like, regardless of that actual gender. Like, there is no, like, favoritism toward men in careers that are based on physical strength, and is there any room for women to allow men into traditionally female roles? That's the kind of thing. It's really an examination of roles that I'm looking for, and how do we deconstruct the gender roles themselves?
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of, I think that's where I'm looking at. But let's look about equanimity.
Yeah, is this going to be done in story context, or is it going to be like a philosophical, kind of like how, like, let's say Dostoevsky would, like, have his characters, like, go off on philosophical religious tangents? Yeah, I mean, that's my writing style. You know, we'll probably get a good couple of chapters of, like, hard dialogue, and then we're going to be given little vignettes along each person's road that will exemplify what I'm trying to get at. So Jeremiah will run into situations on the Appalachian Trail
where either he may cross some lines or other people may cross some lines, and then there will be a dialogue about it. And then Priscilla will cross some lines and have some lines crossed in her adventures at the music festivals. And so,
Okay, that actually sounds interesting and realistic.
Yeah, I'm not trying to just pull shit out of my ass and pontificate. I've seen a lot of things in my life, and I'm trying to insert those little small stories, and that's where I say it's sort of the next logical leap from Borderline Vagabond, is that Borderline Vagabond started a line of questioning about what is normal and what does the future hold for us in a world with no restraints, in a world with no divisive, authoritative stance on how best to lead a life. Like, how do you progress forward as a person and as a relationship and as a partner or a role model or even as an ex? Like, how do you behave as an ex? Do you continue to try to contact and harass your ex-partner?
Oh God, no.
Like that kind of stuff. I really want to examine those types of choices and the struggles inside people's heads when they make those choices, and like the anguish of unrequited love and what that can do to your psyche when you're intelligent enough to know that you're acting like an ass, but you are emotionally inept to do anything about it. And so it's really the internal struggle of finding a balance between your desires and your needs and how other humans fit into that world. And I'm trying my best to be as sensitive for both sides of the story as I possibly can. I really want this book to be balanced between the male and the female perspective. And obviously I can only imagine and hint at a female perspective, but I have also had, many experiences in my life.
Well, really the only thing you can really do, and God, this is some Mr. Rogers level advice here, is you just basically got to do your best.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I have noticed in my years with the indie writing community is, in the question is what perspective can you write from? What is appropriation?
Yeah.
What is a stereotype? There's some people I don't think, say, white writers can write about people of color. Mm-hmm. Men can't write about women. And I guess it's just how good you are, and I guess kind of what the characters are. Like there's this Tumblr I used to follow by a writer and activist named Dion the Socialist. He would sometimes change it to Dion the Black Supremacist and get a lot of hate mail. But
that's funny.
No, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
But he made a post one time where I forget what made him do it, but he was basically saying, like, can't we just be characters sometimes? Like, can't we just be a villain? Can't we just be a janitor? Something. He was referring to people of color, particularly black people, just being people, having roles.
Right.
Because, I still don't remember the exact thing, but I think it was going off on how in literature is that sometimes they boil down like black characters basically just being mouthpieces of anti-racism, or they're always spouting out something from MLK or Malcolm X.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It's they could just be the black plumber guy, or like the really friendly waiter at the restaurant, or like the doctor.
Yeah, but it's like literally literally that's all you have like the character for in there is just so you can give you an MLK quote, where it's like, okay, is that literally your only role here? Is that all you really have to say?
And that's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm trying to point at. Like, something that's always frustrated me as an artist is that people really want to go in depth and try to find meaning in your work. They want to go and they want to find a bunch of symbolism, and they want to find metaphor and simile and dissect what you've said, and almost invariably it is not the intent. Like, interpretation versus intent.
Holy shit! I got a good story about that related to me, but I guess to continue further with my point too. I will say this as a Caucasian writer. yeah, there's a lot of bad examples of white male writers not giving like really shitty or like really bad descriptions of people of color or women, especially if they do like sex scenes.
Yeah.
But, like I've read a few couple be like, he caressed his hands over her caramel skin. It's like, oh.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like and bullshit like that.
I've dipped my toe in that pool, you know, in Borderline Vagabond especially, you know, and really trying to speak outside my element, and there's a lot of assumption in that book too about what the other people were thinking.
Like I said, it's just about being your best, and like with descriptions, I've written gay characters, I've written characters of color and that, and sometimes I have noted things about them that's characteristic, like I had a black character who had I wouldn't say an afro but curly hair. And I know that as part of like the conversation they were having, like during it, he was like doing some picking. God, he's not like a white guy here. But it's but it kind of also goes in with my belief with dialogues that you have to have some kind of action with it to make it exciting. Yeah. Like right now, you know how I'm kind of doing these hand motions right now, which no one can see because this is a podcast. Yeah. But you can easily put that into a story that Gary motioned this and stroked his goatee.
Yeah, sure. The word gesticulation, I'm sure that has appeared at least 3 or 4 times in my lexicon.
Yeah, I guess like I said, it's about being respectful and maybe not focusing so much on it that it seems like a stereotype. I don't know, Barry fiercely stroked his afro as he listened to his white friend say MLK this. Yeah. That would be bad. That would be a bad thing to write.
Yeah, I'm certainly not trying to be insensitive, but I'm trying to poke at some open sores in our society. And especially since you bring it up, my position is a like semi-privileged adult white male cisgendered normal. Like that's what I'm trying to get at is the deconstruction of what is normal. And in a world with no societal restraints and a world where theoretically anything is possible and where all information is available at the stroke of a key, what are the implications of that to a person's individuality? How do you express yourself as an individual when everybody is an individual? We don't have as much social conformity, but also that begs the question, do we or don't we have social conformity? What is the social conformity that we're exhibiting that we're not noticing and that we're not thinking about? And that's really the kind of stuff that I want to be.
Oh God, you could like go into like whole Joe Rogan route there and just talk about tribalism.
Yeah, and I want to a little bit, and that's why I picked the places that they're going very specifically, because the music festy scenesters are going to give me a lot of opportunities to use those kind of tropes.
Oh, and yeah. I know what you're talking about.
You know where I'm getting at, and then also the people on the Appalachian Trail, which of course is my direct experience.
I can imagine a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of tropes. There's a lot of stereotypical characters that you can meet in those two contexts that will exhibit standardized behavior, and I want to be able to use that not just as a tool of questioning their logic in an honest way, but also as a way of demonstrating how they stand out from what I think I want to call baseline society. And so the end of this book is hopefully going to be a charge to think about how your interactions in life affect the other party. That's really what I want to do. So I want to move from a world of introspection in Borderline Vagabond to a world of an honest attempt at understanding the other, That is the goal of Normal on Trial. An honest attempt at understanding the other. When I say the other, I mean people that are not you. Anybody.
Yeah, unfortunately, the word "the other" is. Fortunately, if you're looking for the
it's a hot button.
Well, I wouldn't say hot button. I would say humanitarian.
Sure.
Especially with Trump's family separation policy, which he went back on, but it's still going on.
It's some pretty gnarly shit, dude. Pulling babies away from their parents. It's not okay, And like my political beliefs, more and more as I develop, go towards centrism, and I think that'll probably play heavy in this as well, because I like to try to my honest attempt in life is to see both sides of the story, and to take a journalism point of view where I'm not going to pass judgment on the value of people's statements. I'm just going to try to listen to straight facts.
Oh God. I really hope you don't get mad at the memes I share.
No, man.
Some of them have some anti-centrist views on
That's
them.
okay. I'm not offended, dude.
Or at the very least, it's not stuff that I know that you would do specifically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's...
But then again, the anti-centrist memes I share are stuff like, they're right. Let's kill all these people. The left. No, how about we don't kill all these people? The centrists. Oh, well let's just kill some of the people.
I think the centrist opinion would be, well, everybody does die.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that there's a certain amount of, like, copping out if you take a centrist opinion, but I guess that's, like, it comes from my general desire for pragmatism as a manager of people in my life. Like, I was a restaurant manager and a grocery store manager, so I worked in the service industries for 15 years, and I have encountered like every type of person that you could possibly imagine, of all races, of all creeds, as a world traveler.
I'll just go out on a limb and guess that, especially when it comes to the restaurant, most of them were horrible.
Not necessarily, man.
Really?
I would say I had plenty of awesome interactions with people of all colors and creeds, and like the weirdness of the conversations that you might have at a late night restaurant with nobody else there, with complete strangers and random people in from out of town and just passing through. Like I've had the privilege of meeting thousands and thousands of people, and I'd like to say that I did my best to listen to what they had to say, like on a very deep level, rather than just sort of putting them in the box of being a random passerby. And so being a restaurant person, everybody has to eat. So you and grocery store people, like everybody has to eat, and that means you encounter everybody at all walks of life and all states of emotional distress. I've had people walk into restaurants that I was working at, and their parents just died in car accidents, and they're walking from the hospital, and this is the first restaurant that they've seen, so they know that they need to eat and that they need to be away from the hospital. Like I've met traveling preachers, like traveling Southern Baptist preachers that came in and talked to me for hours. Like I've met, in my travels, I've met indigenous South American, Indian shaman type people,
Okay. Actually, I think that's one thing that's pretty evident with our personalities and our perspectives, that we're both open, but I think overall you're more open than I am, or more open to wonder and speculation. Mm-hmm. And me, I totally admit that this is totally like my own thing. Like I could change it if I want, but I have a much more pessimistic, misanthropic view of life.
It's easy to do, man.
Yeah,
it really is. I've been a cynic a lot of times in my life.
I know.
Definitely.
So like, I can be like the way you just described, like, especially if I'm traveling, like, like 2 weeks ago now, I went on vacation to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt the same way that you just described, meeting different people and being open. But if you were to catch me this week at my day job,
Yeah.
yeah, I would not be that way.
You're ready
at
to
all.
spit fire.
Yeah, I would not be that way at all. And you point out something like, oh, Gary, look at that guy, isn't he fascinating? He's from blah blah blah. I'd be like, God, that guy's such a fucking dick. Holy shit, he likes to run his big fucking mouth. Blah blah blah. So, but that's just totally on me. That's one thing I've acknowledged as a cynic is that, yeah, a lot of it is on me. It's just how I feel about it, and I kind of try my best not to like push it on to other people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it gets so overwhelming that you inevitably do it just by like a shitty mood or something. But it's not like I'm gonna like come in here and you'll be like, "Oh, Gary, it's a nice day, isn't it?" It's just fucking hot, it just shows global warming's gonna fry the fuck out of us. Thanks, Monsanto.
Yeah, dude, and I mean, there are plenty of people that is the reaction, and you're like, whoa, dude, I'm just trying to be nice to another human,
I know. So I really try my best to not be that way, but inevitably it creeps in.
Yeah, well, it's easy to let that kind of stuff creep in, and it's easy to let the failings of your past maybe dictate your future stance too, it's like a good example of this is like, do I want to take the examples of like being spurned by former lovers heavily into account when I write this interaction between a male and female character that are going through the course of a breakup, and how, as I go back and examine these direct experiences in my own personal life, how much blame do I want to place on the other party, and how much do I want to try my best to understand and accept that I was also at fault, and then write that into Jeremiah. Jer is what people they call it, is the shorthand name. So Jer is not me, in the same way that the borderline vagabond was not me. And it is written through the lens of my own direct experience with life, mixed in with observations of other people and qualities that both I admire in other people and I despise in other people. And I take the stance that no one is wholly good or wholly evil, and so everybody has these things about themselves and their personalities and their modus operandi and their overall existence, like what they believe at a core level. It's not all positive, and it's not all negative either. It just exists. And so finding a way for different people's worldviews to mesh and to coexist peacefully is really my ultimate goal with my writing now, I think, is to try to seek ecumenical is the religious word for it, like being accepting of other religions. Ecumenical. You have an ecumenical council where,
now I think about it, you probably should have done like a spoiler alert when it comes to this.
No, man, I don't think that there needs to be a spoiler alert on this, because this is all conceptual at this point.
Okay. It may or may not happen.
Yeah, it may or may not happen, and we could call this a statement of what I'd like this book to do.
Oh,
it could just be
that'll work.
A pile of word salad that means nothing to anybody except me.
Actually, hold on a sec before we continue. Sure. I should probably get this much more comfortable chair to sit in.
Oh yeah, go for it, dude.
Should have done that.
Garrett's grabbing the intern chair here.
How good it feels.
Yeah, the rolly chair. Also, I should note,
that's better.
We had a minor interruption there for a second. The door opened. Mm-hmm. That is my colleague Taylor from Kalamazoo Aerial Media. He's a good dude. He's doing some really cool stuff with film work and especially flying drones around Kalamazoo. And Casey and I have been working with him for the last couple of weeks. He's a good dude. If I had been thinking, I would have called him in here to say hi.
Get in on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly, dude. But yeah.
Is it a family-friendly podcast? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Fuck no.
Yeah, well, so far it has. I don't think we've really been so vulgar this time. Usually I am.
Give it some time.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the tin can rolling around in my brain right now, in terms of the writing world.
Yeah, and okay, you got that, and you also mentioned you have some movie projects you have working on.
Yeah.
Like I remember, it was the third episode with Charton Code. Your brother was here, and you guys were working on The Raven, I believe it's called.
Absolutely.
Is that finished?
Yep, it's finished. It's been finished since January.
Okay, and what's it about?
It's an adaptation of the poem by Edgar Allan Poe. But it was a silent black and white film, and then we had Casey make a piano soundtrack to it. My youngest brother Josh and his friend Hannah Reed starred in it. My middle brother Dan wrote it and adapted it and directed it, and then I filmed it, and then Dan and I edited it. And I've been lazy. Honestly, I've been lazy and I've been working too much. But the intent was to try to get it in some festivals this year.
Dude, I can relate. I mean, why do you think I'm getting and strikes into you now? I could have easily got to you back in May or June.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a thing that all creative people struggle with as they're climbing the ladders of success or getting through higher abstractions of legitimacy. Then you just get more and more bogged down with work, you know?
Yeah, then you get more stressed because you want to get this done and that done. And this is my writer's advice for anyone listening. It's good to have heroes, but don't compare your work ethic to theirs, because you will feel shitty either way. Yeah. Especially guys who are, like, super prolific or just nuts for one reason or another, like Kerouac, for example. Whether he was sober or on drugs, holy shit, he put out a lot.
Exactly.
And it's like, God, Kerouac put out fucking Visions of Cody at this time, and I'm not even done with this fucking novelette. God damn it.
Well, there's a famous story from history that I think about all the time in this kind of context. And there's this story about... Okay, now I got a cough. There's a story of Julius Caesar.
A nice popcorn lung, by the way.
Popcorn lung.
Yes. Vape, bro. Vape.
There's a story of Julius Caesar after the Gallic Wars, standing at the foot of a statue of Alexander the Great, just like crying, like madly screaming, crying, because they were the same age at that. Like, he says, I'm 30 years old, I just conquered Gaul, but by the time Alexander the Great was 30 years old, he had conquered most of the known world. Yeah. And so, like, it's a classic story about not trying to compare yourself to
Would you like this drink?
I've got some coffee here.
All right. Well, last podcast on the left, they like to, the hosts of that like to do that comparison too, where it's like, especially with serial killers, like, they'll have stuff like, boy, what were you doing at 25 years old? This guy killed 6 women already. What were you doing at 25?
Last podcast on the left, guys, are hilarious.
You've been listening?
Yeah, I'm subscribed. I even listened to the non-canon ones too, the whatever they're calling them.
Side stories?
Yeah,
they're pretty good.
The second episode.
Yeah, right now they just finished up, I think, on their Men in Black series. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's partially listened to on my Stitcher here. But, I mean, since I'm on the road so much, and, like, while I'm on location for shoots, many times I'm completely by myself the entire time. So I'll just let podcasts play on my phone all day long. Yeah, I listen to that stuff. I like Last Podcast on the Left, largely because they do long form, and it's hard for me to keep going. Like, if it's only a 20 or 30 minute podcast, it's really not even worth my time, man. Because I'm on the road for 6 hours.
You know? Oh yeah, I kind of Yeah, I kind of went the same way back when they allowed us to have MP3 players at our job. They took that away, though, because, long story short, this fucking old-timer who looks like Ray Romano, from Everybody Loves Raymond. So we call her Ray Romano. I can't say her name on here. But yeah, she complained so much about it that they're like, fine, we'll make it so that no one can listen to MP3s, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and I don't know, a week or so later, she ended up crashing her high-low and going flying across the warehouse. And she basically got fired from doing that, so now she has to work down with us little people. So yeah, there is karma.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, back when I used to listen to MP3s, either I had to have 2 or 3 in a row that were short like that to make it worth it, or I would save that till later, get the long form ones out of the way, and it's okay, I got 45 minutes till the shift's over. Oh, I'll finish up with a 30-minute podcast and go home.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, my all-time favorite podcaster is Dan Carlin. By far and away.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. What's his podcast called?
He has 2. The first one was Common Sense with Dan Carlin, and I started listening to that back before I had a smartphone. It used to be that you could get the RSS feeds that were associated with podcasts through an RSS reader. So you could tap into the iTunes links that were being sent out and get that to come into basically a news reader. And so I was listening to Common Sense with Dan Carlin in 2006, 2007. I believe he started in 2005. He's one of the very first podcasters, very, very, very original. And then many years later, he introduced a second podcast called it's History. Yeah, History on Fire is Daniele Bolelli. His is Hardcore History. Hardcore History. Yeah. Yep. Common Sense with Dan Carlin and Hardcore History. So Common Sense with Dan Carlin is a centrist political podcast, and he was a West Coast political commentator in the 80s and 90s with his own radio show and a lot of notoriety for his centrist views and sort of anti-authoritarian and intelligent views. He tries his best to be very well researched and to not make statements that are outside of his own understanding. And that's why I believe his history podcast is so good, because he does the research of a journalist rather than the research of a historian, which is 2 different things. Because a historian is usually trying to tell the story of the conquering heroes, and a journalist is trying to get to the facts and to the truth and to the substance of what happened and what the context is and what the further ramifications are. So he has done just amazing 6-7 hour examinations of stuff, and it is awesome.
Yeah, that's too much. A 6-7 hour podcast.
Oh, I love it, dude. The last one that he did was on. I think it was the Gallic Wars, maybe, he's been all over the place. I can't remember the last one exactly what it was, but he's done Mongols, he's done World War I, World War II, the Greek, the Phoenician. No, what the hell is wrong with me? When Xerxes invades Greece, right? And the the Spartans and the Athenians start the Delian League, and
I'm thinking of that Frank Miller story, 300.
Yeah. That happened during this. There is a term for that, the Peloponnesian War.
Was it anything like the graphic novel or the movie?
The movie takes a lot from it.
A lot of liberties. The Spartans weren't all really tough, glossy, manly men.
They were,
and the Persians weren't literal monsters, and their leader wasn't some big pansexual, possible rapist guy.
Honestly, the movie does a lot of justice to what the prevailing archetypes were at the time and to the way that things have been described.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I kind of hate on Frank Miller, but I did like the movie. But even I'm like, oh, come on. That's not how it actually happened, Frank.
Yeah. In many ways it is. Like, you can go listen to the Dan Carlin podcasts.
All 7 hours.
And he goes way in depth on, especially on the Persian Empire. Because that's really the misunderstood player in this game, right? Because as products of Western civilization, our entire mindset, our entire basis for mathematics and music and education and writing and literature and speaking, oratory, rhetoric, all of those things go back to these foundational stories of Western civilization, and especially the Peloponnesian War, because Western civilization could have been completely eviscerated, wiped off the map that day. That day, not that week, not that month, that day, where the Spartans made their stand at that pass. And so what the significance of that is that in order for why do I want to say Phoenicians? For Xerxes and his crew, right? For Xerxes and his crew to gain access to the Greek Peloponnesus, to the mainland of Greece, they had to bring all of their warships to this harbor, and then they had to hike up through this mountain pass that it still exists. It's like the width of this room. And so you had to funnel an entire army into a canyon the size of this room, which, by the way, is a 12 by 15 room or something like that.
Yes, and everyone, you can experience the size of this room if you visit Elmblad Media Group Studios, mostly during Art Hop, Art Trade Center. When's the next one going to be?
August 2nd? It's the first Friday of every month.
All right, so, we don't have a map. No, not a map. Calendar. We don't have a calendar right now, but, visit Elmblad Media Group Studios. Next Art Hop.
Yep.
Anyway, you're saying.
Yeah, so for this invading army to come in to invade the mainland of Greece, they had to funnel their hundreds of thousands or millions of soldiers, depending on what your interpretation of the ancient texts are, through this small area, and also into the port of Salamis, which is another part of this war. But the 300 Spartans is this legendary story of one of the kings of Sparta taking his most powerful, his most accomplished fighters on a basic suicide mission to stand arm to arm across this break in the mountains, across this mountain path, and just slaughter anyone that came near him. And of course, the king of the invading army was used to going across Eastern Europe and just saying, I showed up at your doorstep with 1 million soldiers. Would you like me to buy your country from you? And you can keep all of your cultural normities, except for you have to pay, you owe allegiance to our king now. And the Greeks were just like, fuck no, asshole. We are going to stand our ground. You're not taking us over. We're going to be our own country. And it was the first time that all of these little micro-states across Greece united for a common goal. And there's just so many quality, small stories of individual people in there. Because it's one of the oldest major historical happenings that we have multiple hard, verifiable, original sources for.
Okay, yeah, and I guess let me verify some of my comments on Frank Miller. Yeah, I'm in the class that I think a lot of comic book fans are now, is that Well, his classic work is good, but his most recent stuff, mostly due to like what they perceive to be his shitty writing. Yeah, it's true. His art style, which I really do like, especially like in Ronin. Ever read that?
No, I think my brothers have.
Oh, dude,
But,
look
I'm not very familiar with his work. Like he did Watchmen too, right? Is that? See, this is how little I know.
The exact opposite did that. Alan Moore.
Okay.
Basically, let's put it this way: Alan Moore is like the real. What's the word? Curmudgeon.
Okay.
He's the curmudgeon leftist. Frank Miller is the curmudgeon rightist.
Okay.
Even though I think he's actually apologized for like some of his previous statements in the past. Mostly some of them are racist.
Okay. No, I'm like a Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah.
Warren Ellis. Like that's my comic book writers. So I don't really know everything.
I haven't gotten to Grant Morrison as much as I really should.
Oh,
have.
dude.
I know. I read some of the Invincibles and enjoyed it, but
I read the whole thing many times.
Yeah, of course, I got his big Batman masterpiece, Arkham Asylum, a Serious House on Serious Earth. Mm-hmm. That's great, especially the artwork.
Yeah.
But the thing with Frank Miller and 300 is they both took, like, I wouldn't have wanted a straight adaptation of history because it probably would have been boring. Plus, it was already done before. Yeah. I think Miller was basing it on, like, a previous work about, I think it was called The 300 Spartans. It was either a movie or a novel.
Okay.
But then he put his own hard-boiled, cartoony, right-wing spin onto it, where, like I said, he basically made the Spartans basically your Aryan Supermen, which, I guess they kind of were.
Yeah, they were.
In context to us Caucasians, at least.
And not only that, but they were, like, well known for being authoritarian, oligarchical.
Yeah, that's the thing, too, and they kind of felt like Frank Miller kind of glossed over that a little bit, especially when comparing them to the Persians. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Like, you've seen the movie, right?
Yeah.
300. Like, remember like the deformed the deformed Spartan who was like supposed to have been thrown off the cliff at birth because he was deformed. But
and he turns on them. That's part of the story. That's how they end up killing them all. Is that one of their people turns on them and gives them the sheep passage over the
but in a way it kind of makes sense. I mean, if basically you live in a society that wanted to kill you at birth, but you still try your best to contribute, and they're all just no. Yeah, then you got the enemy who's, at least in the movie, giving you all these super hot women saying like, hey, I mean, look at some of my soldiers. They are literal monsters. Not at all historical, but this is a movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's the big things with Miller's interpretation is that he kind of swept over those things, which I kind of see why he would bog down the story. Plus, it would get a little bit too SJW-ish, which that's a big thing in comics, comic book gate. Let's not get into that.
Yeah, man. Well, this is kind of what I'm talking about with Normal on Trial. Is I want to rip off a couple of those band-aids of this. Of the sensitivity towards SJWs and also the sensitivity of SJWs as well.
But also when his depictions of the Persians, like I said, they show a lot of them to be literal hunchback monsters, and their leader, as supposed to be like the big manly man Xerxes is, it's like this tall,
effeminate,
pansexual, like
that is more that's more aligned to what the Persians were, though.
Yeah, wait, I actually saw like some drawing. He actually the Persian leader actually kind of looked like a stereotypical Persian.
Right.
Had like the beard and shit.
Well, I think what they were trying to get at is that they were more interested in like the luxurious living, and I think that was at least because you got to remember that all of the stories of this war and all the literature about it and the oral tradition is also embellished with these minor judgments.
Oh yeah.
So
Victor writes the story.
Exactly, yeah. And so as that goes on and it gets sort of deconstructed by people in future generations, I feel like a lot of that gets lost or manipulated.
Well, I also remember what I want to put on. Besides these stereotypes, they're also taking Frank Miller's views at the time. Like, the movie came out in 2006. I remember seeing it in Traverse City.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was years after 9/11, and after that, Frank Miller pretty much made it very well known that he was ultra-nationalistic. He hated Islam, and he kind of went out of his way to just bash every Muslim that you could think of.
Yeah.
Every Muslim was a terrorist, Allah Akbar, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And he would, like, insert them into, like, his other works that, like, were specifically about, that dealt with the Middle East. Like, you ever heard the book Holy Terror?
No.
Okay, you're gonna love this story. Holy Terror is a book that he put out, and it's about this guy named the Fixer, who basically has to save his city from a terrorist group who did like a 9/11-like attack. Yeah, it sucked. But even Grant Morrison, back when you heard about it, said straight up, yeah, Frank Miller should, I don't know, join the army if he really wants to put out propaganda like that.
Yeah.
But before that, it was actually supposed to be a Batman story in, like, his Dark Knight continuity, whereas basically Batman and Catwoman would team up to fight Al-Qaeda.
Oh, man.
And
dude.
But then, I guess DC dropped the idea. It's like, yeah, Frank, this is kind of a bad idea. We really don't want Batman being like, fucking Muslims.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, I'll show you. And he took it to, like, one of those outsider companies outside of DC and Marvel. And, like, he took the Batman ears off the character and called him the Fixer. Took the cat ears off Catwoman and just made some dominatrix prostitute superhero, which is a lot of Frank Miller's female characters. And totally a detective who looks exactly like Jim Gordon, but it's not Jim Gordon. We assure you, he isn't. I mean, rent it out at the library if you ever see it, but don't waste your money on it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, a lot of it, they also took in, like, a lot of Frank Miller's views post 9/11, where it's like, okay, what are you saying here by making this historical character, Persian leader, into this pansexual rapist character?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a good point.
Yeah,
These are all good points. I'd never even thought about these type of criticisms of that work. Like, I just remember so this will date me a little bit too, because I got that shit on Demonoid, man.
Demonoid?
Yeah, Demonoid, the torrent server, right?
Dude,
like,
I never heard of Demonoid.
Demonoid was an invite-only torrent server.
That's
for
why
a
I
while.
had it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was all about Kazaa, and it totally ruined my first ever computer. An IBM ThinkPad.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the equivalent of having sex with a prostitute without a condom.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it ruined my art computer, but I never heard Demonoid.
Okay, yeah, well, there's plenty of torrent servers back in the day, or, like, listing sites, but obviously I think the Pirate Bay became the most well-known one.
Yep.
Before
Still
that,
up.
there was one called Supernova, that was on par with the Pirate Bay, but that one got shut down really early on. And Demonoid was kind of the answer to that, where it would also get shut down, but it had a bunch of mirrors, and it was something that you could only get invited to, and like, you had to log in and all that kind of stuff, like, before you could search for anything. And I got a lot of good stuff on there, or may or may not have gotten illegitimate copies of works that I already owned on there.
There you go.
Yeah, but at any rate, I downloaded the 300.
What's that sound? I think those sounds like boots are coming up the stairs.
Yeah, well,
oh hi FBI.
Find someone who was my age in 2000, from 2005 to 2010, that did not torrent something. You know what I mean? Like,
oh god,
that was kind of the way that we did things.
Yeah.
But that's because it was the frontier of the internet still. There was no way to pay for anything, and I had no money.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Well, people are still doing it. I mean,
I don't like that's the thing. I'm plugged out of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it still happens.
Oh yeah, totally.
Sure.
I mean, the last great thing I heard, at least locally, was a year ago in Lansing. They had some not ICP show there, but someone related to them, and apparently some juggalo just downloaded the entire discography of 3-6 Mafia, and the venue got fined for that.
While he was there,
Yeah.
like on the Wi-Fi at the venue, he's
Yep.
like, "Oh, I like these guys. I'm just gonna download their
Yeah.
discography on my phone."
Yeah,
Wow.
yep, and the venue got slapped with thousands of dollars in fines.
Oh my god. Yeah, dude.
So yeah, it's still alive and well, bro.
Well, I mean, that was like the foundation of a lot of my intellectual pursuits. Like, I found some of my most favorite art through file sharing. And I was always in the firm belief that if I actually liked it, if I consumed the material and I enjoyed it, I went and bought a hard copy. So all the comic books that I downloaded, I went and bought the trade paperbacks, or I went and bought individual issues. Like the music that I downloaded that I really liked, I went out and bought the physical copy. I bought LPs, I bought CDs, I bought DVDs, I bought Blu-rays, I bought all that shit. I bought, I paid for software.
You were here in Kalamazoo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's another big difference between my file sharing experience and yours. First of all, I'm fucking lame because the majority of things that I downloaded off Kazaa, porn, that's a given, and God, fucking anime music videos, where like they would take your favorite anime and then take like a song and put it to it.
Huh.
So, and of course, this being like the 2000s, a lot of it was edgy hard rock, a lot of post-grunge, new metal. God, there's so many like Dragon Ball Z videos of them featuring fights like Traps Headstrong.
Yeah, dude.
Like shit like that. I would download it, and like that would be like my sense of wonder at the time. Be like, oh, this is a really great video. It's really put together. Then you get some shitty ones where like they just put random fight clips, and it's like, eh.
Yeah.
And of course, I download some songs and that. And I tried some movies, like a lot of anime flicks that did come to shore at the time. I did legitimately try to download The Matrix Reloaded when it was in theaters. So I downloaded it. It took like nearly a week, I think, because we had fucking dial-up at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I downloaded, I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch Matrix Reloaded. I didn't have to go to the theaters. And it was like Ice Age.
Oh shit!
That's
hilarious.
I was so fucking pissed.
You got rickrolled by the primitive internet right there.
I would have preferred to have been rickrolled.
Yeah. Oh man. Like during that time when Matrix Reloaded came out, I was in college, and I was living with.
Oh damn! You were in college?
I think so. Yeah.
Holy shit!
That's the third one, right?
No,
that's the second
one.
Oh,
What
okay.
year?
So
that was like early 2000s. I think I was just starting high school then.
So the first Matrix came out summer of '99, right?
Yeah.
And that was my freshman year of high school. September 1999 is my freshman year. I graduated in 2003, so maybe it was like.
I'm looking this up.
Okay, when The Matrix Reloaded came out.
2003, yeah, I was a freshman, I think.
Yeah, I had just moved out of my parents' house the summer of 2003.
I feel very young.
Well, I'm only a couple years older than you, but that is the exact time period where that age difference would have mattered, is like 2003, 4, and 5, when I was 18 to 21, and you probably were in high school still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just did you graduate in 2005 or 2006?
2006.
Okay, yeah, see, perfect. That is the only time period where that age difference actually mattered, you know?
Oh, yeah, technically.
Yeah, I was totally in college when the third Matrix came out because I hit my buddy's Explorer with my car because he slammed on his brakes while we were on our way to the theater to go see Matrix.
You had an Exploder too?
He did, not me.
Oh,
I had a Pontiac Grand Prix, a 92 Pontiac Grand Prix.
I had a Ford Exploder. It was my grandma's originally.
Mm-hmm.
I got it because it was my second car. I got it because my first one didn't have 4-wheel drive, and being up in northern Michigan, we just get, especially being right on Lake Huron, we just get fucking slammed during the winter.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted one with 4-wheel drive, so I got the Ford Exploder with Firestone tires attached to it.
Oh man! Oh,
yeah,
the early 2000s.
Yeah, so that was when that controversy was going around.
Yeah.
So I had like the perfect death trap going on.
No, that guy, my roommate. It's also interesting. My roommate at the time, because earlier in our Frank Miller conversation, we were sort of talking about the weird tinges of nationalism that were developing around that time because we started the war with Afghanistan in 2003, right?
Yeah.
So I was a junior in high school for 9/11, and I was a senior when we finally attacked. And so I was in college. My first year at college was like when Conan O'Brien was having all of the like fake mouths moving on his late night show, and it was all Arnold Schwarzenegger memes and like that kind of shit.
Shuverine.
Yeah. But that
vomiting Kermit.
The reason that I bring this up is because I was living with a Lebanese immigrant to Saudi Arabia at the time, and so he and I had days-long conversations about this, about Islam and about the struggles in Islam and the struggles with Islam and fundamentalist Islam. And of course he came from Lebanon, which is war-torn in the late 90s. So he came of age visiting his grandparents in Lebanon, walking around broken, demolished buildings. Like that's how he spent his like childhood summers with his grandparents, exploring bombed out buildings from wars in Lebanon, right? And this is post 9/11. He's from Saudi Arabia. He's a Shiite Muslim, and it was a really interesting time to be alive and a really educational experience for me, because I would have never been exposed to the positive sides of Islam without Tariq, unquestionably. And when I first moved into that apartment, it was Tariq and two guys named Hussein. I don't remember their last names. One of them was like a soccer player, sport guy with like, he had a wife back in Lebanon and a girlfriend in the U.S. and both of them had kids, and it was just, he was like a slimy guy. The other one, the other Hussein 2, he was like super book smart and very family oriented and like didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do anything bad. And
which Hussein did you hang out with more?
Hussein 2, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. A lot of people don't know this about me because they were introduced to me in my 20s, but when I was young, I didn't do anything untoward. Like, I was like a goody two-shoes Catholic school kid, right? Like, I hadn't been broken by the world, and I was just really curious and really naive. So I was more inclined to hang out with the guy who was taking 26 credit hours a semester at Western to study medicine, because I wanted to know what he knew. And I was really generally curious about what happened outside in the world that I didn't know about, right? Like, here's these guys from Saudi Arabia, a country that I had barely even heard of when I moved in with these dudes. And then it just so happened that all this news is coming out at the same time of the associations with bin Laden and Saudi Arabia, and I'm sort of at this time uncovering all of these stories that you don't hear as an American about the turmoil in the Middle East and the struggles with the creation of Israel and all of the drama that surrounds that, and how the Iranians play into this, how the Shia versus Sunni interpretations of Islam play into this, and how the fundamentalists of each of those sects play into this. And I just was uncovering information every day, man. It was so thrilling. And at the time, I was at Western studying comparative religion, so I ate this shit up, you know. And that's when I went to Egypt. I went to Egypt with Tarek to visit his friend from Jordan, and then that guy got fucking killed a week after we got back.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Hussein too got killed.
Not Hussein too, no.
Oh.
This was a guy named Muhammad.
Oh, okay.
That he never made it to the U.S. He was supposed to come visit us in the U.S. the next year. He never made it. But he and Tarek had been instructed at an American school in Saudi Arabia, so they knew how to speak English. Tarek was from Lebanon, and Muhammad was from Jordan. So their fathers both worked on the oil fields in Saudi Arabia and went to these American schools, learned English, and then therefore Tarek came to go to school in the U.S., and Mo went to school in Cairo at American University in Cairo, west of Cairo in 6 October City. And so it was like, this is what I'm going through, like 18 to 20. Like my formative early adulthood years were spent just having late night conversations with these guys from across the world, right? This is what set the stage for all of my intellectual exploration and all of my world exploration that happened throughout my 20s and to this point. That stage was 100% set by Tarek, Hussein, and Hussein.
You still in contact with any of them?
I saw Tarek in 2012, and he had just finished up his doctorate and had been living in Toronto, came back to Kalamazoo to settle some stuff at Western, and then was literally days away from moving back to Saudi Arabia with his new wife from Toronto. And that's the last time I saw him. But Tarek...
The Husseins?
The Husseins, the last time I saw them was probably, like, Hussein 1 moved out. He transitioned out. Like, I took Hussein 2's bedroom, and Tarek took Hussein 1's bedroom, and then Hussein 1 and 2 each had a couch in the living room that they paid a small amount of rent to sleep on. So Hussein 2 eventually moved down the hall in the apartment complex, and Hussein 1, I honestly don't know what happened to him. He just sort of disappeared after a while.
Oh.
We didn't see him for a couple of months, and then we stopped getting money from him. So I don't really know what happened to him. I'm sure Tarek probably does. But Hussein 2...
Wait, so how much money do you think he owes you still?
Oh, he was only paying like $70 a month. Like,
oh.
That place, it was a ghetto situation, dude. Like,
okay.
It was like, there was an Arabic owner of, it was California Village Apartments, or California West, or something like, on California Street on near Western's campus, right by Frat Row.
Okay.
Like, and now I believe those are called University Village Apartments, but either way, I was on California, and it was owned by a Muslim guy, an Islamic guy, Arabic guy. I don't remember his nationality, but that was his heritage for sure. And any time that like stuff happened at that apartment, it was like all four of us went together, and I sat in the back while the three roommates and the owner just screamed at each other in Arabic. And then it usually ended with them going, "Yeah, our rent's not going up." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh, that's good. I wish I could do that with my place, because we got upped again to like $327. We were at $317, and of course that's like, there's a lot of things that I try not to get like really amped up and angry about, or at least I try to have some humor with it. Landlords and rent is one of the things that I allow myself the privilege of getting fucking angry about.
Yeah.
And mostly it just involves me, like, making a Facebook post and then posting a lyric video to Dead Kennedy's Let's Lynch the Landlord. That's my way of going about it.
Well, what happened? I mean, I got sued by that apartment complex.
Oh, nice.
There was holes in the walls when we left. There was shit burnt into the ceiling. There was burn holes in the carpet.
Okay, that's sue worthy.
Yeah, I was not a saint at this time. We were kids. You know, we were total kids. We were children. We didn't know what we were doing. You know, and it was really the first really sobering experience that I had when we got back from Egypt and Mo died. And this, of course, all of this stuff is contained in my first book, Whatever Happens. Spoiler alert. There's a hell of a lot more that happens in that book. This is not even the beginning of the spoilers.
No, so how much did you get sued for?
Like $1,200 or something, split between the guys, but I think I ended up ultimately paying like $100 of it. I'm sure Tarek's dad is rich. There's a white guy, Jared, that moved in after the Husseins moved out, and he took over one of the couches. And so it was really me and Tarek and Jared and Stan that got sued. And then Stan died by the time that's a spoiler alert for Whatever Happens, but...
Spoiler alert, we all died.
Back to the beginning of this. But, yeah, like... I only remember paying a couple $100 and nothing ever came of it. So I'm pretty sure that somebody's rich dad just wrote the check for $1,000 to just be done with it. You know, and they like confronted me about it, like took me out. Like I was my most depressed, was unemployed, broken up with, best friend dead, and like these guys bring a lawsuit to me, and they're like, we think that Stan should be involved with this. And I was like, I think that Stan is fucking dead. And they're just like, oh shit, this is just real.
What happened to Stan?
Stan, oh man. Yeah, you haven't read my first book, have you?
No, I haven't. I only have Borderline Vagabond.
Okay, yeah. So Stan was like my best friend. He's the guy that turned me on to file sharing. He's the guy that turned me on to, comic books, to Transmetropolitan, to the Sandman. He's the guy that turned me on to like Nietzsche and like a bunch of shit in my life. Like Stan was a huge influence to me in terms of like the media that I was consuming and my political opinions going on from my early 20s, and really a lot of the way that I lived my life was heavily influenced, if not directly influenced, by Stan Slavin. And so what happened is I went to the hospital in early 2006, and he fucked my girlfriend, and we got in a huge fight about it, and then he attempted suicide while living with her by cutting his neck up with a broken beer bottle when she wouldn't fuck him again. And then he moved in with his parents for a couple of weeks, spent some time at Pine Rest, then got put into a halfway house and overdosed on opioid pain medication, and died in his sleep in a halfway house at 26 years old. So,
damn.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, that was like...
I'm sorry, man.
Man, that's... Honestly, dude, the older I get and the more I think about the destructive behaviors that I had in my 20s and the general cynicism and negativity I had towards other people were all based on my... I think at this point I'm willing to admit post-traumatic stress syndrome disorder from that situation. It's probably what fueled my drug and alcohol abuse for most of my 20s. It's what fueled my negativity towards society. It's what fueled my inability to have meaningful, close, personal relationships with people in general.
It was all from that. Like, all my trust issues, everything comes from that. And
From this one friend.
From this one friend, and like, it's hard to articulate how important this guy was to me, because it was like we worked together and we lived together, and it was like a situation where I was Plato and he was Socrates. Like, he's just feeding me things, media to consume, new ideas, challenging what I believed, and I had gotten so involved with part of his personality that, like, I went to him for consultation on how to think about the world. And so, on top of that, we were like the best of friends. Like, we went to every party together, like, we showed up as a team, and, like, you know, he's the one that got me, you know, shotgunning high lifes and, like, taking bong rips and stuff like that. Like, that, and
really, he couldn't have you shotgun King Cobra, man? Bad influence.
He was a bad influence, and that's another thing that I got.
Okay, I was just joking on the bad influence part. But
he was. If you read the story, you know, I get into it pretty heavily. But
which book is that?
Whatever happens, happens.
All right, very first book.
Yeah, the very first book, and it actually contains his live journal, for a transcript of his live journal that corresponds with timestamps to the events that I talk about in my section of the book. And it's been a really cathartic process after that book is written. Every single person that I talked shit about in that book has come back to me in my real life and been like, I supported you, I bought that book, and all you did was talk shit about me through the whole fucking thing. And it has been a difficult process. It has been a humbling process, and I have learned so much about myself as a result of this shit, man. People from Stan's family bought that book and called me and had hours-long conversations with me, and it has been probably one of the most significant events in my life that made me the person that I am today.
Did anyone ever threaten to sue you for defamation or anything?
No, but they definitely cut me out of their lives, you know. I said some mean shit about people in that book, dude. I was brutally honest, and it was written in my mid-20s when I was a very angry young man.
Well, it wasn't intentional, though, or was that?
No, it was not intentional. I was not trying to hurt anybody.
Yeah, like, you weren't just writing there and say, yeah, I'll show them.
No. I said some really mean shit about Tarek's girlfriend, Elise. And
not their real name.
That is her real name, and I fucking feel bad for what I said. I feel bad about it, man. I won't take it back.
Okay, thankfully she won't listen to this podcast.
It is very unlikely. She's blocked me on every social media platform.
Actually, as I've come to peace with the fact that anyone that I talk shit about or you talk shit about are probably not going to listen to this anyway. So
in my case, they have. They have. At least they read my books, and some of them keep up to date with me, and they definitely are paying attention to what I'm doing and saying. And that's why I guess this is a really good opportunity for me to apologize in the way that I would like to apologize, which is I'm not going to take back what I said, because it certainly is true, but the way that I said it and the stance that I took on it, you know, I fat shamed Elise, which is fucking mean. You know, it's mean. It's just mean. And I said a lot of negative stuff about the girl, about the girl that Stan and I were both involved with, and she has come back into my life. Like, at the end of that book, I basically say, like, I would fucking rip her face off if I ever saw her again. And I did see her again.
And then lo and behold,
I did not rip her face off, and, you know, she came through here with her fiancé, and we were really nice to each other. And there's no need to carry on the animosity of your early 20s into your 30s like that, man. There's no need for me to have been so mad at these people for stuff that we all did when we were kids for so many years. And it destroyed me inside to deal with the way that I thought I was attacked by these people. But in all reality, we were, every single one of us, children, making mistakes, trying to learn about the world in the most honest and authentic way we could. And this is the way that I could describe it with the capacity that I had in my head at the time I wrote those words. And it is not nice.
Yeah. I would say I'm slowly getting out of that phase, mostly
Yeah.
with people here in Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
But unlike you, I've yet to like really write about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably will get around to it, especially with the Imogen McDonald character, because she lives here in Kalamazoo.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably going to be mostly through there.
Yeah.
But the only difference is that I pretty much have cut those people out of my life, and I go on my way to ignore them.
Yeah.
And if we do confront each other, it's mostly just some online bashing shit.
Yeah. No, I've had some deeply personal conversations with these people many years after the fact, and they have expressed that they were hurt by the way that I portrayed them. And the way that I react to that is I feel bad that you were made to feel uncomfortable reading about your own actions, but I did not lie. And that shit did happen, and you did make me feel that way, and for that I am not sorry. Because I'm not going to apologize for my own emotions, and I'm not going to apologize for my own honest and authentic feelings, but what I will apologize for is for putting it out in a public forum that, you know, I could have changed the names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could have changed the names. I could have been a little bit more vague. I didn't need to throw people under the bus like that. But, you know, I was like 24 when I wrote that book, and it was about ages 18 to 20. So I did not have the time needed between the events and the writing to fully digest what had happened. And I'd really like to revisit Whatever Happens, and release an anniversary edition, just to kind of clarify. And I'd like to really do it.
Whatever happens, the apology edition.
No, I want to retain the original text and annotate it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack, I wrote this about you, and yeah, I'm sorry I wouldn't have called you dog dick ugly in this paragraph.
The people, John, Ashley, Elise, Hannah, those are the four people that I really attacked for no reason. They did not deserve it, and there was many quality attributes to our relationships that should have been covered in that book and were not, because I was trying to paint them as villains to my sainthood, and that is not what happened.
Oh yeah, I think that's inevitably going to happen with anyone.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on how much evidence you have to back it up, so to say, and other people's perceptions of you, I guess. Like I said, I'm kind of getting out of that stage, but I mostly go about just ignoring people or blocking them.
Yeah.
Especially because with me here in Kalamazoo, a lot of it came from people within like the indie music, punk rock scene around here, the leftist, anarchist political scenes, and yeah, a lot of scars run deep with those people. Yeah. And like here, I'll show you a perfect example. Won't say this guy's name. He actually sent me a message over, because I unfriended him a while ago. Basically, this guy, how should I put this? You ever have like a relationship with a friend or a family member or whatever, where it's like, you probably should have like gotten out of it, but you still keep going, hoping it'll turn out better. Yeah, this was kind of that relationship, and it never turned out any better. We were constantly battling over dumb fucking bullshit until finally he moved away, and I just unfriended him and never really looked back. He sent me a message, and of course, since Facebook has it now, where like if you want a message right away, you have to be friends with them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get a request, and sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. I didn't see this one until like I was just checking my request one randomly. There he is. Well, first of all, I'll just show you his profile. I don't think you recognize him.
No, I do not.
Okay, you don't. And here's what he wrote to me. This was back in October 2017. I never replied to it. Hello, Garret. I don't know if I ever said this to you before, because it's been years since I've seen or talked to you, but when I reflect back on memories from Kalamazoo, whenever anything involves you surfaces, I feel guilty and shitty. Because for a period I was a dick to you, and I don't know if I ever apologize. There's two things to be said to explain why I acted like that. First, remember how I was particularly hostile during that time in later 2009, around this time of the year, after I came back from a trip to his hometown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if FB has retained the messages, but if I scroll up here, I can still see your messages to me at that time, which were not very pleasant, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during that time, I was basically experiencing a type of psychotic episode that lasted a few weeks, brought on by not sleeping and eating for several days, combined with other exceptional circumstances. And when I got back from my hometown, I was literally having psychotic delusions and thought you were some kind of undercover cop or something. I would like to note that he's not the first one that in Kalamazoo that thought I was like that. I had at least two other people that I heavily dislike now for various reasons. Both went around and claimed that I was an undercover cop. One was just because he wanted to talk shit about me. The other guy was because when we were talking about acid, I said high instead of trip, like, oh, you get high on acid? So he thought, like, that I was just some undercover cop.
Right. This guy's a narc. You
Yeah,
don't get
exactly.
high on
Yeah.
acid. You
Oh.
trip on acid.
Yeah, oh, you don't know the terms?
You go for a journey, bro.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Anyway, back to this. I know it's absurd, but that's where irrational hostility comes from. I had a lot of delusions at the time, not just concerning you. That doesn't explain my rudeness outside of those few weeks of mental illness before and after the delusional state. After serious self-reflection, I concluded that you subconsciously reminded me of someone who I had difficulties with. Thus, by no fault of my own, my ego was triggered and I was a dick. That was all like 6-8 years ago at this point, and I like to think I've changed a lot, as most people do. And I'm sure this is more important to me than it is to you. So what if some guy in your political scene at college was a douche to you? But for whatever reason, it still weighs on me. I suppose because if I had back then the insight experience I have now, I would behave very differently. So yeah, sorry for this random huge wall of text. I saw your name pop up on a comment somewhere and decided to send you this overdue message. So there you go.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, honestly, at this time, I was a little bit surprised to hear from them, as I am with anyone that I haven't heard from in ages. And two, I wasn't mad. I'm not mad at him anymore, but I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there's something from J.D. Salinger that I read about his biography. I think it was on Wikipedia, actually. They're talking about how in the 80s he received a letter from his first wife, who he married after World War II.
Wow, that is a Freudian slip. Whoa.
Well, here's why. Basically, he married this woman out of World War II. He was like a intelligence officer.
Yep.
Yeah, it was all going hunky-dory, but then he or one of his comrades discovered that the woman he married was actually an ex-Nazi who went into hiding. And she married him, a Jewish American. So he immediately divorced her. He felt very betrayed because this was someone who killed thousands of your own people. And one of the greatest tragedies of all time. But anyway, he received a letter from her, and I guess apparently he didn't even open it. He just tore it up and threw it away. And I think it was like his son Matt, who became famous through the very first Captain America movie. Look it up, it's a shitty movie, it's hilarious. No, he just says straight up that, like, yeah, when my dad's finished with you, he's finished with you. That's kind of the stance I've taken now, in part because of my experiences, and I guess to protect myself emotionally. Because I used to be like that, like with this guy. Like, I would try to, like, persevere with the relationship. I would try to make amends, make things better, and it just never turned out. So, after 2013, when I moved to Grand Rapids, that was the year when I was, like, trying to rebuild my life, if you want to be all dramatic with it.
Sure.
rebuild it emotionally at least.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the conclusions that I've had. Is like, okay, you know what? Fuck these people. I just don't care about this anymore. I don't want them in my life. I don't care if they're sorry for their actions. I don't want to communicate with them. And I think that's a valid point to have.
Yeah, I think so too.
I guess it would be better if I forgave you and we were all friends, but I also have the right to not forgive you.
Yeah, and I think that's the wall I'm hitting with these interactions of my past. You know, we're never going to be friends again. We're never going to recreate the times that we had when we were all 18 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, one of them is an ex, and, you know, all of them, all these people are close relationships that I had, you know? But I'm going to mute my phone because we've got a band group text going on, and it's just going to continue here. So,
band text. Don't you mean Konrad Twitty band?
Yes, I do. The Konrad Twitty band. We are working on finishing up our album, and we just moved into a new rehearsal studio in downtown Grand Rapids.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that was a clusterfuck over the summertime.
We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, check them out on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're saying.
Yeah, wrapping up all this conversation about like maybe failed relationships of the past, or like, you know, I identify with a lot of what that guy was saying in that message. I have a lot of feelings about interactions that I had in the past similar to that, where it's like, I would like to explain to some people that I was in a very poor emotional state. I was very frustrated with my inability to make money. I was frustrated with the fact that I had dropped out of college at the time. I was frustrated with my health and my mental stability. I was frustrated with a lot of things, and the way that all manifested was as like vitriol. Just straight vitriol. Fuck the world. I hate everybody. The world is filled with pieces of shit, and everybody's out to get me, and so I'm a man alone on an island trying to surf through this madness of society that's fucked up. And I do not see things that way anymore, you know? And I'm running up against the question, do you just simply apologize for every mistake you've made in your life, like a person in a 12-step program? Or do you try your best to acknowledge that you did wrong and try to not do those wrongs moving forward? And if you reach out to people, like he said at the end of that message, is this really about them? Or is it about you feeling better because you finally said something? Yeah. And does that fix things?
Yeah, will it make it better or worse if you reach out to them?
Exactly. And, you know, all of these people I did not reach out to. I did not go out of my way to apologize to them. I kept it inside me that I felt a little bad about how this whole thing played out, but assumed that they would never read the book, that I was just an asshole to them, that they didn't care what I had to say. And I was wrong about that too, because they did care what I had to say. They did know that they were probably going to be in that book, and they did buy it. Some of them only read the introduction on Amazon, like the first 20, because you can tell by the conversation, because one person in particular was giving me a bunch of grief about what I said at the beginning of the book, and all I did was smile, and I said, "You didn't read the entire book, did you?" And so he or she says, "Well, no. Why would I want to read a book that just talks shit about me through the entire thing?" I
guess that's kind of a valid thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't read a book. I wouldn't read a book where it's just all Garret Schuelke bashing. Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, it's not that hard of bashing. It was like dumb teenager shit, and it was really in the story. Oh man, I'm getting into super specifics here, but like in the story,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, in the story, it was a tool for me to illustrate my frustration with what was happening with me, and what was happening in my relationship, and so I didn't bash this person. I just expressed that I had negative opinions of what she was saying to me at the time, and so. Later in the story, she comes back, and it makes me, in the story, acknowledge the fact that other people have changed as much as I have. And so in that way, she is a great tool for me to further the story along. But she didn't get to that part. She didn't get to the part where I basically redeem her.
Well, I guess the question is then, would she have cared though? Like, would it be good enough?
No, she would not have cared. It means nothing. She was basically like, "Hey, I've been out of the country for most of our adult lives, and like we just ran into each other at a show here, and fuck you," is basically what I have to say.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I said I got nothing but love for you. I did not mean to make you feel that way, and I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I'm not going to take back or apologize what I said because it was the truth. And it doesn't matter. I did not lie. I did not lie about the way I felt, and I did not lie about what happened. So you reading that and feeling these feelings doesn't necessarily mean that I wronged you, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you wronged me. It means that we both feel badly about it, and I'm okay with that.
You are way more diplomatic than I am.
Well, man, I try my best to see people as they come to me,
Yeah, but
Mainly as a result of what happened in that book.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's where you want to end that part of the conversation.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah.
But
A deep dive into the psyche of Zach Elmblad and his early works.
yeah, we're getting very emotional here on the Garret Schuelke podcast.
Well, I'm just trying to be honest, I don't want to obfuscate my own feelings because they're very directly linked with my artistic output. And I've been very open about all of it throughout the duration of my artistic career. So I'm not ashamed to admit that I probably was wrong or fucked some shit up. And I'm also not ashamed to be emotional about it either, because I went through some shit, and it took me years to sort it all out.
Yeah, I would say I'm the same way, but like I said, I'm a little bit more isolationist.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I still have good friends like you, John Whitty, Andy Argo, who I want to have on soon.
Yeah.
Come on, Andy. Anyway, I treasure my friends, but I guess if you fuck with me or do something very offensive, then I just cut you out of my life now. I just don't want to deal with it. I'm 31 years old. I got better shit to do, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man. And there was a time in my life where I did think that there was something wrong with that you were that I was a lesser person for giving up, for not continuing to try to make things right. But at some point, man, you gotta let things go, for no other reason than you are not the master of anybody's destiny but your own, and it's not your purview to dictate the way other people should feel about things that happened. You can dictate how you feel, but you cannot dictate how other people feel about the situation. And it's very important to accept that other people may have different interpretations of the same events that you experienced with them than you do. And it doesn't pass negative or positive judgment on the situation from an objective perspective. It's just the way people feel. You can't take it personally.
And that's the meaning of life.
That's the meaning of life. So Konrad Twitty Band.
Yeah, that's exactly. Konrad
silly
Twitty
stuff.
Band.
Yeah.
You're a psychedelic classic rock band that you're a part of.
Yep.
Yeah, what's the latest news there?
We're still working on our first full-length release. Vocals are now, main lead vocals are now tracked, so all we have to do is guest vocalists and backup vocals.
Any guests you have in mind?
Emma Lou, we're going to try our best to get Emma Lou to sing and do some spoken word stuff in between tracks. We had Sam Kenny come and play trumpet on one of our tracks.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Sam Kenny's awesome.
He's a good dude. Ben Boggs from Drink Their Blood was actually in our band when we first started it. So we want to have him either play a saxophone solo on a tune or do guest vocals. And then for our second album, which is almost completely written now, we want to have him sing an entire tune.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we got those to do, and then me, Marty, and Mark have to go in and do our backup vocals for the Moonrise Over Uranus record. But the new stuff that we're working on is all Great Lakes shipwreck themed, and it's a lot of fun, man. And we use line for line directly influenced by the Gordon Lightfoot classic.
I was about
the Wreck
to
of
ask.
the Edmund
I was
Fitzgerald.
just about to ask that. Like,
Yes, and we are well steeped in the lore of Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, I saw Gordon Lightfoot last year.
Did you?
Yeah, that was the same day. Sadly, though, that was my experience was ruined because that was the day my money got stolen from me from my bank
Oh,
card.
your identity theft situation.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Oh, man.
So after calling my mom, like, Mom, someone stole all my money, I went and saw Gordon Lightfoot, and I enjoyed it. But I'm thinking, like, in the early morning rain, you lost all your fucking money. And yes, he did do the entirety of Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Good.
Along with Early Morning Rain, If You Can Read My Mind, all the great hits. And I was in Toronto two weeks ago on my vacation.
Mm-hmm.
He performed 2 nights at I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, Massey Hall, which is a famous venue that's actually about to go under a 2-year renovation. God, I could have gotten tickets for that, but during the entire week I was thinking like, should I go there? Should I not? I really want to go see Massey Hall because it's so famous, and maybe see Gordon Lightfoot again. And then finally I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go see Gordon Lightfoot. Tickets all gone. God damn it.
Savage.
I know, so
Yeah.
now I'm going to have to wait 2 years for Massey Hall to open again to go back there again.
It's all right.
But yeah, okay, so it's all shipwreck themed.
Yep.
So, and what's up with this new studio / storage space?
We got kicked out of the storage space.
What happened?
They sold it in January. So we had been in the same storage unit on Clyde Park in Wyoming.
I believe you took a band photo actually of you guys like in the hallway
Yep.
of it or something.
Yep, and we filmed some YouTube videos there. Like we recorded every practice there. Like, we called it Mission Control, and we were there for almost 4 years. And it got sold, and the people who sold it did not want bands playing there and did not want anybody using the electricity there. So, I tried to make deals. I tried to offer to pay more. I tried to offer to offset our electric bill. I tried everything. They didn't want to work with me. They basically were hugely rude. And this is Simply Self-Storage in Wyoming, Michigan. Fuck that company. And I am very, very frustrated with their unprofessional attitude. With the unprofessional attitude of their on-site management.
FYI, these opinions are that of Zach Elmblad, not of Garret Schuelke or the podcast. So, don't sue the fuck out of me.
I've made my opinions known.
I don't got money to pay you anyway, so don't waste your time.
But we have got a new space. It's a shared space with with 2 other bands.
Oh, really?
Knives Are Quiet and another band, which I'm an asshole because I cannot remember their name, but they're cool guys and we've played shows with them before.
Are they both out of Grand Rapids?
They're both out of Grand Rapids, yeah.
Because I never heard Knives.
These are metal bands, hardcore bands.
Okay, I may not have heard them then because I'm mostly more these days the indie rock, country alternative rock, jazz kind of guy.
I've been a metalhead since I was a kid. That's what I like. So that's what I play.
I'm a real metalhead. I listen to Metallica's Loaded. I am seeing Slayer this August.
Oh yeah, half of Slayer.
Oh, what happened to the other half?
Jeff Hanneman died.
Oh yeah, he died of the spider bite, didn't he?
Yeah. No, something. I don't know.
I have a former friend. I wouldn't call him a friend. He was an acquaintance, and he was kind of a creep.
I got to fact check now because I think Dave Lombardo's dead, but
basically, when the Slayer member died, he made either him or he found a meme of the Slayer member dead in his bathtub with a beer next to him and a spider on his arm, and it said Satan sends a spider up to kill Slayer member. Oh, which one?
Dave Lombardo. Okay, no, he's still alive. So yeah, you're seeing 75% of Slayer.
Okay. Well, I also remember when that member died that the Westboro Baptist Church said they were going to protest his funeral.
Yeah,
Which
savages.
never happened because I think they then YouTube some Slayer videos and seen what their fans are like.
Yeah.
You know, the ones who will literally carve the band name on their forearms. Yeah, you already think the cops are going to be able to protect you from those people.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. I think they also said one time they were also going to protest a funeral from like an ICP crew member, which I was like, dude, it's just like the Slayer situation. Don't fuck with the Juggalos.
Yeah, you are just asking for thousands of people to show up and troll you. Yeah.
No,
and
not
probably have physical violence involved.
No, yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not going to be trolling. It's literally a Slayer or a Slayer fan or a Juggalo breaking through the line and punching you in the dick.
Yeah.
As hard as they could.
Yeah.
Which will destroy you.
Yeah. It's really interesting to note those two fan bases too, because they're both very heavily misunderstood.
Oh yeah.
You know, but also have a lot of elements of violence in them.
Oh fuck yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so you have not seen Slayer before?
Nope.
Good show, dude.
I know.
Slayer's
I think
good.
And also I think it's on the bill is Lamb of God, Anthrax.
Anthrax.
Yeah.
I missed Anthrax.
Yeah. It makes up the 4 thrash metal bands. You know, Slayer, Metallica.
Megadeth.
Yeah, Megadeth, yes. So yeah, it's gonna be quite an experience.
Yeah, man, that sounds like a good time, dude.
Yeah, Metallica's also coming to Van Andel next year.
Oh, really?
And the coworker that got these tickets, he's a bigger metalhead than I am. Chad from
Oh, that's right. We talked
Chad.
about Chad.
Yeah, he was looking at the tickets and. Yeah,
It's a couple $100 to see Metallica.
Holy
I bet.
fuck, yeah,
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're rich men.
Yeah, for a reason, could you charge thousands of dollars for tickets? Even like the shitty seats.
Yep.
Like, before I saw the Metallica tickets, the highest tickets I've ever seen for someone at Van Andel was Pink when she came through. And it was like $2,000 if you like wanted to be like up front.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could throw something at Pink if you wanted to. But even like nosebleed seats were like 500 something.
It is.
Holy fuck!
It's shocking.
I know
how
that's
much people demand.
I know that's why like when I go to venues, like unless it's like the Pyramid Scheme, 20 Monroe Live, which is very good.
Yeah.
And I say this with reluctance, the Intersection even.
Mm-hmm.
My nickname for them, the Shitter Section.
The Shitter Section. Man, R.I.P. the old Intersection. I liked that place a lot.
Well, it's still going on, and they actually put in like 3 new venues under their roof.
Mm-hmm.
One called the Mint, the other one's the Express. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but basically when 20 Monroe Live came around, they just freaked their fucking shit.
Yeah.
For good reason.
For good reason. Yep.
Because I think their intersection sucks. I hate their setup. I hate their bouncers. Fuck you, you fucking flatheads.
Well, did you go to the original Intersection when it was on Wealthy? Like,
no,
way back in the day? I saw Modest Mouse there in, like,
No.
1998.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
Where were they located on?
I'm pretty sure that it was a hookah lounge for a while. God, what was it next to? It's like
East Town?
no, west of 131,
Okay.
west of the river.
Oh, so it's on the west side.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been to that one.
Okay. Yeah, that was the intersection when I was in high school.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I came up to Grand Rapids to see shows, it was like the venue that like the bands that I was listening to were playing at, and it was before the Van Andel opened and just after the Van Andel opened. Yeah. But you wouldn't have been in Grand Rapids at that time.
Oh, what years was this?
This is like to 2001.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck no,
Yeah.
dude. I was 2001. I was my last year of junior high,
in
shitting
Alpena.
my pants as we watched the 9/11 attacks go down.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, those are like type of venues I like now. Like I'll still go to stadiums and shit, but for the most part, it's like I prefer more the lower price intimacy ones.
Yes. That's the way I've always been. You know, I've been in and supported local bands since my teen years. You know, I was in bands when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, and I've always preferred local music. I've always preferred regional acts, so like hometown hero type bands. Like that's who I'll fork out $20-$30 to see. You know, it's rarer and rarer these days that I'll go to a show that has a ticket price more than $60.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and that's the thing too. Majority acts I want to see don't play at the arenas.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the most. Well, I paid to see a band called. God, what is that band called? It's a Swedish band.
What genre?
My God. It's like historical power metal.
Oh God.
Oh man,
Black metal.
No, man, it's like symphonic, epic metal, dude. These guys are great. It's like war stories, and like the production quality is very high.
I'm trying to think. I'm guessing it has either a Norse or Satanic reference and a reference to a hammer in its name.
We're gonna find out really quick.
Like Hellhammer or something like that.
I could sing the tunes right now, but I don't know why I can't think of the name of this band,
in
dude.
The shadow of Oberon. Oh wait, no, that's Konrad Twitty.
Oh yeah, dude. We need some space filler in this conversation while I scroll through my Spotify here.
You know what venues?
Sabaton. That is the name. Sabaton.
Never heard of them.
Oh, dude. If you get a chance, you throw a YouTube search out for Sabaton and watch a couple of their videos. Highly entertaining. The production quality on the music is great. The complexity is not that high.
Actually, I probably would be interested in that because a lot of my metal tastes are either immediate thrash like that, rap metal, fuck you, I still like it, and I guess more long-form symbiotic black metal.
Okay.
But I get really turned off by black metal for a lot of the fucking Nazi bullshit a lot of those bands have.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck you.
Yep.
Even ones I do like Burzum. Yeah, they're.
How much do you know about that story?
Oh, plenty.
Okay, have you read Lords of Chaos?
Oh yeah, I owned it.
Oh my god, what a good book, dude.
Oh, I know, it's excellent. It's excellent. That, and along with like Marilyn Manson's autobiography, got me briefly in trouble in high school because, one of them because it was made by Marilyn Manson, and the teacher I had hated him. Another one had like a quote from Lords of Chaos had a quote from Dead in the back. Mm-hmm. The character from Mayhem who killed himself, and they took a picture of it, put it on their EP.
Yeah, and also took pieces of his skull and made necklaces out of them.
And possibly ate his brains.
Likely ate his brains.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But then again, what was that asshole's name that?
Hieronymus?
Yeah, Hieronymus, that Burzum's sole member, Bard Vickerness killed. Killed, with just, like, okay, last podcast on the left. Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
They even had stuff in there that I didn't know about.
They put that into such good context, man, about like how the population of Norway was like 75,000 at that time, and like everybody knew each other, and they were just like dopey little fucking emo kids that had a record store that nobody bought records at, and their parents bought all that shit.
I know, but it really put Euronymous into perspective for me.
Yes.
Especially like it was basically a try hard. Especially when I was hearing like Marcus listing off the stuff that he supposedly participated in, from murder to kidnapping to child pornography, which I like, okay, hold up.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, if he really did that, fuck him.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah, so but then like they know like his grandma made him wear a sweater one time because it made her happy.
Exactly.
So fuck Euronymous. I'm not gonna say Bart did the right thing, but I don't feel sad about losing him.
Yeah.
But
Bart Vickerness is out of prison.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He lives in France now. He's like some survivalist guy. You ever see his YouTube vids?
No, I think you might have told me to check it out.
Yeah, check him out. They can range from boring to entertaining. Like, he does like survivalist stuff. He talks about like his fucking board game RPG thing that he made. Where it's like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's a lot more boring. Like you gotta raise sheep and shit.
Oh man,
Sounds exciting, doesn't it?
I don't know. I'm good for a rousing session of dice rolling every now and again.
Dice roll. You don't get to fuck your sheep. Okay.
Yeah, you roll a d20 and
Got
you get to blow someone's brains out with a shotgun.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah.
So, okay, Konrad Twitty Band, you're settled in the new studio and that.
Yep.
You're working on a new album.
Yep.
And I know you guys perform a lot in Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys performed outside of Michigan at all?
No, we actually have not played outside of Michigan. In fact, I think we've only played in Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. I'm trying to recall if we ended up having any shows in Lansing or not, but I don't think that we have. I'm the youngest guy in the band at 33, so we're all adults with career jobs and that kind of stuff, so it's difficult for us to do more than like play a show on a weekend.
Wait a minute, you're 33.
Yeah.
I'm 31. Wait, how the fuck were you in college and I was in starting high school at that time?
When do you have a fall birthday?
No, I was born in June.
In June? I don't know. Dude. I graduated in 2003, man.
God, dude, this is weird.
Yeah, it is.
Let's not get into it.
I noticed that when you said earlier that you're 31 years old, I was like, wait, we're definitely not 3 years apart.
No, I did not get held back, if anyone's wondering that. My mom technically... Here we go. Okay, listen, I did not get held back from school at all, but my mom did not put me in, at the time that I should have. She personally held me back a year because she thought I was too hyper.
Huh.
So there's that. But
okay.
even then, that 1 year that I was held back by my mom kind of doesn't seem still too far of a jump there, I guess, with our ages.
No, not really. But that's when 3 years is, a significant percentage of your life on Earth.
Yeah, I'm about to say, did you jump some grades? Were you that intelligent that you got upped?
No, I did not jump any grades up. No,
okay.
But also I switched schools halfway through high school, and I had a full-time job starting a week after my 16th birthday. So, because I worked as many hours as you could as a minor, and then worked cash under the table additionally afterwards.
Very nice.
Very nice. Yep. Child labor laws. Here we go. But no, yeah, I've been working like a dog since I was 16 years old. So I feel like I was interfacing and being influenced by people in their early 20s from that moment on. So a lot of the stuff that I got access to it really, really early in my life, as opposed to where some people, it might have taken them a couple more years to get into this type of stuff.
Right.
So I don't want to say I was old for my age, because I was still a naive little kid, but I was being exposed to ideas and concepts that most of my friends were 6 or 7 years older than me at that time. So
let's face this timeline again like a future episode.
Yeah.
Let's argue it later.
Admittedly, it's been really difficult for me these last couple of weeks to parse my own timeline. I don't remember when exactly a lot of things happened, only that they did. And it's been difficult. I've run into a lot of old friends lately and tried to kind of piece together shit that happened when I was drinking a fifth a day.
It wasn't dude, we were friends back in junior high. Wait, I was in college that year.
But
all right,
yeah.
Back Konrad Twitty Band. Okay, you haven't played outside the state yet.
No.
Any plans to do that?
I mean, we would. Like I said, scheduling is difficult. We all have different needs in our lives, and we all have different commitments and stuff, and most of it is work-based, some of it is family-based, but we would love to try to play at least in Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Indianapolis. We'd get to the major cities
Yeah,
around
I
here.
would-
Toronto. I'd love to. But,
I would suggest Chicago right off the bat.
I've always wanted to play Chicago. I never have. I've played South Bend. I played Detroit. Played Grand Rapids, Lansing, Kalamazoo, Lakeshore. I've been in South Haven. Been in Muskegon, and been in Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, but never made it to Chicago, man. None of the bands I've been in have ever made it to Chicago. And it's sad, because I've always wanted to play in Chicago, man. Always. But, we just take it as it comes. We move really slow with this band. Very slowly and very deliberately. And I had been frustrated with that pace in the first year or so of the group, but now I've grown to really enjoy it. And also, I uncharacteristically take a passenger seat for the guidance of this band, and the leader of this band truly is DJ Wirt. And in many ways, I just kind of divert to his opinion. I trust what he's doing musically. He's been doing this longer than I have, and he's had more success at it as well. So I really trust his opinions, and he's a majority writer on all these tunes, and I contribute, the other guys contribute, and I'm more of a, behind the scenes worker in this than I am the forefront or leader. So he's got a vision of what he wants to do artistically and with the progress of the band, and he's hard at work developing those ideas, and I'm just going to let him do his thing. So a lot of this, I don't really have good answers for you, but he probably does have plans to get us to Chicago. I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
Well, especially since you got a new studio/store space.
Yeah.
Dude, hit him up. Tell him I'm on the podcast. All of you guys.
Oh, dude,
at once.
DJ for sure. It'd be hard. It's hard to schedule with Marty and Mark because they tend to work late. So DJ works really early in the morning, and my schedule is very malleable and dictated by me.
Well,
so the two people that are difficult to get in a room are Marty and Mark.
Well, I guess, basically, if you guys are ever in Grand Rapids, you're practicing or whatever, and you get bored, you're like, hey, let's be on this guy's podcast. Yeah, hit me up, and I'll see if I can come over.
Well, I'm sure that I would love that, and they know who you are because you've come to a couple of our shows, and so I can almost give you 100% on DJ. But like I said, it's hard to get Marty and Mark in a room, and since we're already committed to once a week, they kind of write that into their schedules. But it might be a good idea to just have you come down to the practice spot. It's not too. We're on Wealthy, above a Guatemalan grocery store just west of 131.
I actually might know that place.
You probably do. There's a lot of bands that practice there.
Okay.
A lot of them. Our buddies Rip Van Ripper are there. DJ would be able to name off a dozen bands that are
West Side Rebellion. Those guys.
Those guys. Joe. This is a space that Joe Henry was in until we got in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, and we're friends with all those guys. I mean, right here next to me in my office is some posters of recent Konrad Twitty band shows, and all of these here are set up by Joe Henry from West Side Rebellion.
By the way, Cousins changed their name, right?
To 741? Yep.
What does that mean, by the way?
It's the address.
741 local?
741 Live, I think, is what they call it. Or maybe it is
local. Yeah. First, I actually thought it was like a reference to like a union or something.
Oh, right. Yeah, isn't that kind of...
Yeah.
I think they might be going for that motif.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The West Side of Grand Rapids is a very working class place.
Yeah.
It's slowly getting gentrified, and there are efforts to fight it.
Yeah.
As there should.
Yeah.
It's not like the wonderful, high-priced East Side that I live on. Though I might get priced out of that in a few years, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, but those guys are all people that DJ has forged relationships with for years, if not decades. And the community aspects to being a local musician, especially a local musician that's a metal, a person who makes original music, it's hard. You got to stick together. You got to be friendly. You got to be ecumenical. You got to you got to be willing to invite other people to work with you. You've got to be willing to go check out other bands and be a member of the community. And it's very easy to get washed out of that. So we try our absolute best to make sure that we're going to other people's shows and really supporting other musicians. And I think that's a really big benefit to our career. And it's also a mentality that's been created by the Grand Rapids metal scene. And there's a lot of really good people involved with making heavy music in Michigan. And the guys from, oh my God, what is that band you were just saying? West Side Rebellion.
Yeah, West Side Rebellion.
These guys are perfect examples. The guys in Drink Their Blood, also perfect examples of this. Like, just really, really good community-minded people that are not only making quality music, but are also quality human beings. And, Joe Henry from West Side Rebellion, like, very, very integral to making shows happen in downtown Grand Rapids in the metal scene. He's a very important guy, and being in this new rehearsal space is putting us in contact with the people that are like that that we don't already know, and it's been a great help. And we're really excited for this winter, for the writing season. And, we've got a lot of big plans to get more tunes written. We've got a lot of music already. And we just set up some really good shows. We're playing at Mulligan's in like 2 weeks with a band called Udo.
Yep, I've heard.
And those guys are phenomenal. Absolutely great. They're good people, like good individuals. They've got a really good, cohesive, like, performance. And they've got a guy that does art and projections for them named Milo, and that guy's great too. So I feel like after that show and the next couple of shows that we're playing with bands Pan and Cavalcade and Drink Their Blood.
Wait, Pan?
Yeah.
Pan's back?
Yeah.
Holy shit,
Yeah,
really?
we're playing with them in August or September.
Wait,
yeah.
Alex is back?
I don't know these guys personally.
Oh.
So
I know one of them. I know he's a member.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I gotta look that up.
Yeah, but we are playing a show with them, so
apparently
they're back in some incarnation, and that's coming up in August, September, and I have a feeling that after those shows happen, things are going to change in a big way for us, and I'm really looking forward to 2019 for Konrad Twitty Band, because it looks like we're heading towards some serious work ahead of us. Especially once we get this full length done, It's being mixed by Chris Frankhauser from Raygun Records, and it's recorded by
So wait, are you
Jupiter
on?
Jones.
Are you on a record label?
No.
Oh no.
No. I think that we're gonna release this under Elmblad Media Group.
Oh. Okay.
I'm not sure. We DJ and I might make our own publishing company. We'll see. We haven't really discussed that. He and I are going to have a sit-down meeting here at some point and go over all those specifics. But we want to have lacquers done before that. We want everything ready. We want the recording finished, the mastering done, the mixing done, and have a finished product before we start talking about how we're going to actually release it. But it's definitely going to go on vinyl. We're definitely getting it pressed, and it'll be on iTunes and
awesome.
Distributed all through all those methods. I don't know if we're going to do a physical compact disc release, but we'll definitely do a digital release and a physical vinyl release.
Cassette release?
It's been talked about. Talked about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's kind of the popular hipster thing to do right now, and we might dub a few tapes, but
shit,
I find it unlikely.
How about you do 8-track?
I sold my 8-track player in like 1999 at a garage sale for $5, and it's the dumbest thing I ever did.
Dude, every 8-track player that I owned always ate up the 8 tracks eventually, which is one reason why I banned that format. Besides it not being around anymore.
Yeah, 4-track is not good.
Oh yeah, it's complete garbage.
Or 8-track, I mean 8-track. Yeah. We got anything else? I feel like this is winding down. What else did we want to cover today?
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about for a while, I have a perfect segue for it, actually.
Perfect.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're still around, actually, Zach, because if I don't know if you took part in it or you noticed it, but according to our favorite person, Alex Jones, the Democrats started up the second Civil War this past 4th of July.
Did they?
Yeah, I know. I personally took part in it. By that I mean I was with my folks up in Traverse City. We saw Buddy Guy perform and hang out at Cherry Festival, went swimming. And yeah, I survived the second Civil War that the Democrats started, according to Alex Jones.
Huh. I'm completely unexposed to this.
Oh, dude, look it up.
Oh.
It's hilarious.
Okay. Alex Jones's second Civil War.
Yeah, only the second Civil War that only he knows about.
Yeah, Alex Jones has gone full bore lunatic. I feel bad for my guy. Man, as a radio personality, and before he got steeped into the into his own media company, and before the divorce, and like being co-opted by a bunch of companies and the Trump presidency, like I wouldn't have called myself an Alex Jones fan, but I was certainly an Alex Jones listener.
Well, let's actually kind of go back to the beginning. How did you get into conspiracy theories?
I got into conspiracy theories. That's a good question.
This is a topic I've been wanting to talk about since like.
Yeah, we've been saying we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. How long are we going to do? A 4-hour Joe Rogan?
2
podcast?
hours. Let's give this at least 30 minutes.
At least 30. Okay,
we can do it. All right. So when did you first get into conspiracy theories?
I'm gonna say so. We'll talk about me personally for a second.
Yeah. Then I'll get into how I got into it.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I don't really know. I don't have a canned answer to that question, but I will say that my dad was born in 1960, and one of the things that he likes to tell us stories about from his childhood is that he snuck into a theatrical release of the Von Daniken movie, the Ancient Astronauts. What is the name of that fucking book? Chariots of the Gods. Okay.
Oh wait, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, Chariots of the Gods. He wrote that book in the late 60s, and it was made into a movie, and it's basically the early version of ancient alien theory, okay? And so I kind of grew up with that subtext. My dad is a scientist. He's a very intelligent man and a very calm and collected man that has very well-formed opinions that, you know, he'll share with you if you ask him. So, from that context, I will also list the X-Files, the show The X-Files, because I was right in that demographic. So, as X-Files was on TV, I was watching that shit every chance I got. You know, I was like, 10 years old when those story, like when that story started to develop and they started doing more and more of the canon type episodes, and it's all about Scully getting abducted and Mulder not being believed and searching for his missing sister and high level government cover-ups and aliens like being well versed in traveling to the Earth, and it's well known in high levels of government, and it's actively covered up, and there's entire branches of government that cover it up. These ideas were basically presented to me through the X-Files. And then, after that, I would say probably Stan. Stan got me in on a lot of this, started talking to me about like African tragedies like Rwanda and Eritrea and Sudan, like all this kind of, you know, struggles in Kenya and the idea of like tire necklacing and all that kind of stuff. Also through the dead Kennedys, probably. Like, I got exposed to a lot of this Pol Pot, you know.
Which, by the way, is
holiday
it's
in
a great
Cambodia.
name. It took me a while to figure out what Dead Kennedys meant.
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, oh, wait a sec.
And Jello Biafra, too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. But, like, I would say those are the main influences that I had. And then, obviously, because I went to Egypt in my early 20s, I think I was 19 when we went to Egypt. And the alternate explanations of what happened at the pyramids, or the fact that we don't really have a consensus on when, how, and why they were constructed. And since I've been in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid at Giza. I've experienced the AK-47 toting, like, fascist police that they had there during the Mubarak regime. I've experienced this firsthand as an inquisitive young man, armed with the knowledge that there are alternate explanations. I showed up to Egypt with an open mind, and that open mind was cracked open at that point. Especially because of the fact that my buddy got killed 1 week after we left. So it made the reality of the clash of civilizations that's happening in the Middle East immediately apparent to me. But also, it allowed me to understand that there's an other side to these stories, especially to the stories about the foundations of Jerusalem in the 1940s, and the politics around that. And so it is from that angle that I got into conspiracy theories. From ancient astronaut theory and from alternate history theory, I got into conspiracy theory. Mainly, I got my toes steeped in with the Kennedy assassination, Oklahoma City bombing, the Unabomber, because again, I was growing up. I was a young adult.
Waco, Ruby Ridge.
Yep, I didn't know about Ruby Ridge until much later. But I remember seeing Waco burning on TV. You know, I remember the Columbine school shooting.
Yep.
And
was there a third shooter?
Right. Yep. All that kind of stuff. And also my cousin's husband introduced me to the idea that the Federal Reserve was...
Oh, that's a big favorite.
Yep. When I was like 15, he pulls out a dollar bill and he's like, "Do you know what Novus Ordo Seclorum means?" And I'm like, and I did. I took Latin in high school, so I knew that shit. Yeah.
You know, if you push this bill together, what image you get?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. And so I got exposed to that through him, and then Coast to Coast AM, I stumbled on during the Art Bell years.
Yep. Rest in peace, Art Bell. He passed away.
R.I.P. Right, Art Bell. My God, dude, that voice. You want to talk about comforting, man? A comforting voice is the voice of Art Bell late at night when you're wondering what the fuck is going on in the world.
Complete opposite of your Alex Jones, who is literally screaming, "It's tyranny!"
Yeah. Well, so 3 Mile Island, the band that I was in with Kenny, we were influenced by these ideas. Of course, it was an instrumental band, so we didn't have lyrics, but we definitely made use of clips. So our live performances included clips of Alex Jones, included clips of the movie Network, which I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen Network?
I've heard of it.
Okay, it's really good, man. You might want to check that one out. And included clips of like Muammar Gaddafi and that kind of stuff, like the politically edged conspiracy theories, or basically just the idea that what the government tells us and what the government purports to represent itself as is an illusion. And that's really the core framework that I look at conspiracy theories under. So I didn't come in on cryptids. You know, I didn't come in on Bigfoot
unlike your
or
brother.
Nessie. Yeah.
Who I want to get on the show sometime.
Yeah,
Talk about
yeah.
cryptids.
Sure, dude. Dan is a smart guy.
Well,
Yeah.
I will put this out to Dan if you're listening. When it comes to cryptids, I'd be more willing to believe stuff that are like you know how they say some cryptids are made in the made in like a secret laboratory, shit like that.
Yeah.
But other stuff like Bigfoot and Loch Ness, I really have a hard time believing based on human encroachment.
Yeah.
And just the technology we have now is like, you cannot get a single picture or DNA sample, especially like with Loch Ness Monster. It's like, he's based in one small area, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's kind of my position with cryptids.
With cryptids, yeah. What's interesting about the cryptids is that there's a good example in the coelacanth, where people were saying this gigantic, crazy-looking fish still exists, and they didn't, like, no one believed anybody, but then finally they found them, and they know that they still exist in nature, and that's like a pretty recent discovery. That's the type of thing that cryptid people will bring up a lot.
When it comes to nature in general, really, I think even though they found other animals, like especially in the mammal kingdom, or they suspect is still alive, but I really think it's like the insect world and the oceans are like the ones that still have the mysteries.
Yeah.
Especially the ocean.
Yeah, especially the ocean. And
the ocean's fucking scary.
Especially non-oxygen-based life, too.
I mean, isn't the most recent theory that some scientists are putting out is that octopuses are actually from another planet?
I have not heard that.
Yes, I have.
But I do know a lot about the conjecture of the intelligence of octopuses.
Yeah,
Octopi.
My friend Sid Redlin of
I know Sid.
Yep, he likes to post stuff about.
Sid's a silly guy.
He likes to post stuff about aliens. Like he just put in all caps aliens.
Yeah.
And he'll put the story about that, or Skynet will give you flowers.
I met Sid in this building actually many years ago at John Cage not the actual John Cage, but our mutual friend Brad Miller from the band Brown Company. Yeah. Now he's been in many bands. He introduced me to Sid at that show at a John Cage performance with Richard Bowser.
Yeah, but that's my two favorite things about Sid when he posts. It's just about aliens, or like he'll make any post about an intelligent, or like some kind of robot. He'll claim it's Skynet.
I liked when he started referring to himself as the Pope.
Yep, he does that.
That's fun.
Too.
That's
the
fun.
Pope,
I like
the
it.
Pope approves.
Yep.
Yeah, you're a good man, Sid.
Yeah, Sid Redlin is a good man. Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, how I got into conspiracy theories, I would say the real starting point that I really realized them was when I was in my sophomore, junior high, and senior years. And I was basically going through my neo-pagan phase. Like, I was really into Wicca. My hero was Aleister Crowley.
Okay.
Which you may know for many reasons.
I do. Yeah, I've rubbed shoulders with him from many contexts.
A famous Satanist. Yep. Fucking deviant. Possibly the father of Barbara Bush and the grandfather of George W. Bush.
Possibly.
Yeah. But no, he is like legit my hero because he's a famous cultist, famous chess player, world traveler, mountaineer, writer, literally everything.
Man of letters.
I know, so I kind of wanted to be that way. And of course, like, I researched everything I could about him, read every biography. And of course, I would come across, his time with I forget the name of it, but it was with William Butler Yeats, Gregor Mathers, there's an order that he was in. The Golden Dawn.
Yeah, the
Golden Dawn. And of course, his other stuff, like with the Freemasons.
Yep. And with Scientology. He was an early influencer of L. Ron Hubbard as well.
Oh, yeah, he fucking hated their work, though. He was like, "You're trying to create a moonchild. What the fuck?"
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so... And, of course, the Illuminati, like, he was part of the German Illuminati, which is actually an occult organization, but we now know it as our master, pretty much.
Yeah.
They technically sponsor this podcast. They sponsor every podcast, in fact.
Yeah.
But that's how I formally got into conspiracy theories, was through basically my interest in the occult. And even before that, like even before conspiracy theories, I was interested in like aliens and ghosts and shit.
Sure.
Which was really funny because throughout my public school years, I was always determined to like be a cool, popular, preppy kid. Yet at the same time, I like to wear all black clothing. Sometimes like real punk rock or weird shit. And I read a lot about aliens and ghosts. This is all popular. This is all great stuff to make you the most popular kid in school.
Do you have any direct experiences with the supernatural?
Well, that's what I would say during my occult neo-pagan phase. I like to think that I had some, but on the other hand, I also think that was just my mind tricking me into believing that kind of stuff. Because, God, I keep forgetting. I forget what it's called, but basically, if you believe in something enough, your mind will like fix itself to like make you believe it. Kind of like when I used to hunt. Like I would get up early in the morning with my dad and shit. We'd go out the blinds, just sit there in the dark, and of course we can't shoot anything because it's fucking dark.
Yeah.
I would think that my mind would trick me into thinking that I'm seeing like deer, and they're like white, like ghosts. So like I would be like, do I shoot it or not? Is that real? So now I assign all my occult experiences to that, like a placebo effect in a way.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good interpretation.
I mean, I had fun with it. I met some cool people. I read a lot of good stuff, and I did learn how to meditate. And I really got to get back into that. It's one of those things where, like, okay, I'll get back into it, but then I never do.
Yeah, that's been a part of my life for a really long time.
I know, but so yeah, that's how I formally got into it, and I almost immediately got turned off by it because at the time in high school, I was a liberal. Like, I would categorize myself as a Michael Moore liberal.
Dyed in the wool.
The what?
Dyed in the wool liberal. I think that's what people say.
I never heard that.
Dyed in the wool. Yeah.
No, but
So, yeah, like as in like you're not only woven into the fabric of that ideology, but also you were dyed like the color of your interpretation was dyed in the original wool.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, that's a heavy metaphor.
Yeah, so really my big influences at this time were basically Aleister Crowley, Michael Moore, and Mark Twain.
Okay.
I know, quite a trinity.
That's a trio right there.
I know, so I almost got immediately turned off when I would research these other things like Alex Jones and that, because I just found them offensive. You know, as a liberal guy, then you hear Alex Jones talk about the evil homosexuals taking over the government. I'm like, well, but gay people are cool. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time I would like scroll through conspiracy message boards. One of them, I remember one of the very first ones that came up in all block letters in the subject. Did you know that? What was it? Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald. It was a JFK thread. It's like, did you know that Lee Harvey Oswald had Jewish heritage? And it was just this big anti-Semitic post about how since apparently Lee Harvey Oswald had like this Jewish ancestor, this made him want to kill Kennedy or some bullshit. So yeah, it's like shit like that, and like Jones and a few others, like really turned me off because they were just right-wing hate mongers. I mean, I'm certain if Michael Moore was like a conspiracy theorist, like instead of bowling for Columbine, he did like bowling for the New World Order, I would have gotten way more into it. But it just kind of like really turned me off, and it still does in a way, actually. Like that was here. I'll post one question to you that I post online, and no one like could really give me a straight answer. To your knowledge, do you know any conspiracy theorists like that are popular, semi-popular, that are leftist in some way? Like the closest we came to was like Jesse Ventura, who's become more left in his recent years. Yeah. And like Henry Zabrowski of last podcast.
Sure, okay, Henry Zabrowski.
But like, you think of anyone that was like particularly left, you know, maybe votes Democrat, likes socialism, you know, stuff like that.
Admittedly, that's a line of thinking that I don't really follow that much. I guess to answer the question, my political leanings have always been independent. I think I registered as a Democrat when I first registered to vote, but then maybe 6 months later put it in went back and checked independent on the little draft card thing or whatever it was when you register to vote. You put it in there. At this point in my life, and for at least the last 10 years, I do not identify with a political party. I try my best to stay completely out of that. And that comes from a personal philosophy of not wanting to be involved in what I was introduced to as the concept of isms. I don't like being categorized into a line of ideological thinking. I don't like being forced to conform to a set of rules about looking at life. But that being said, that wouldn't necessarily keep me from being exposed to any conspiracy theorists that have left-leaning beliefs. But honestly, I mean, trying my best to think of anybody, I don't really think that I can name a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, besides those two, I think maybe the rapper Immortal Technique might go under there.
Okay, yeah, you can take that.
Or maybe rapper B.O.B., but he's more...
You could also say Art Bell.
Oh, really? Was it?
Yeah. Art Bell was classically pro-gay marriage, he wasn't necessarily anti-authoritarian, but having been a radio operator in Vietnam, he was and Korea, he was definitely suspect of the government, but also
I think any conspiracy theorist has to be suspect of the government.
Exactly.
That's a main trait.
I think that's a healthy human habit, is to be suspect of the government.
Oh yeah.
That's the charge that was given to us by the Constitution, is to be weary of that.
But I guess when I say left, it's everything like your Al Jones, your David Icke's.
Yeah.
They don't really support right-wing causes. They're pro-gay marriage. They're not racist, and that includes they're not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
So that's what I really think of when I think a left-wing conspiracy theorist. And there's not a whole lot of them. There's some with leanings, but every one of them supports that in some way, or even supports violent right-wing groups like militias and shit.
Yeah.
So that really turned me off from diving head in and really adamantly supporting something.
Mm-hmm.
I still keep up on them like I do now because I legit find them interesting.
Yeah.
And I even have them for fodder for stories.
Sure.
But
also, I got turned on to Alex Jones specifically from the movie Waking Life.
Oh yes, I remember that too. It's one of those movies I bought years later, but then I seen it when I was a teen because it's the hot, cool indie flick that we heard about.
Mm.
Me and none of my friends understood what the fuck any of them were talking about.
Right.
But then years later, I got it for Christmas because my mom had an Amazon gift card. Oh, Gary, get whatever you want. I get Waking Life. I understood everything perfectly.
Yeah, that's a good.
And that's when I realized Alex Jones was in on that.
Mm-hmm.
The guy in the car who then burns himself Vietnamese monk style.
Yep. Also, the movie What the Bleep Do We Know came out in 2003 or something like that. Yeah. And so I saw Waking Life in my freshman year philosophy class. That's when I saw that movie first and went out and bought it immediately. I think I went to Best Buy right after I got out of that class and bought that movie.
Nice.
And then What the Bleep Do We Know came out fairly quickly after that. And that's, I would say if you were going to find a left-leaning conspiratorial edge, it's that style of
yeah. Well, there's also left zeitgeist.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. What about Noam Chomsky? Would you consider him a socialist conspiracy theorist?
Actually, wait, what conspiracies has he really espoused? I mean,
Manufactured consent, I think, is the big conspiracy theory of his.
Well,
you could call it not a conspiracy theory.
Well, that's the thing too. Like when I think of, I kind of divide up conspiracy theories with stuff that I think is realistic, that it's been shown in history to happen, and it might just well happen again. Then the stuff that clearly it's not going to fucking happen. It's clearly bullshit.
Right, lizard people.
Yeah, lizard people, flat Earth, hollow moon.
Yeah. Hollow Earth.
Yes, Hollow Earth too. Basically, if you have stuff that's been proven time and time again to be bullshit, or better yet, if anything you have includes like wording like you have to have this level of perception, you have to be on this level of religion. Basically, if you add like religious bullshit or say you have to be on a certain level, I do not believe you. Because you are not presenting evidence, it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, they always say, like, the aliens want to get into contact with us, but they're waiting for us to be on their level of enlightenment. I'm like, what if they're just not there because they don't fucking exist?
Yeah. Well, I was having a conversation with somebody about this last night, about that, and about aliens, and I'm pretty confident that aliens exist.
Oh, I do too.
But
actually.
I'm not very confident that there's interstellar travel.
Well, that's one of my big things too, and maybe it was influenced by me reading Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles.
Okay.
But I always wonder, like, okay, they're always making aliens out to be better than us in some way, especially technology-wise. What if it really is the exact opposite? We're the highly advanced ones. That's why we haven't heard anything from them, because they're still in caves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made there. Yeah,
I know.
Because we're firmly in the world of conjecture. There's no way for us to actually know yet whether there is life. We've only been barely able to know how expansive the universe actually is at this point. You know.
Okay. So those are the things I find so far out that I don't believe.
Okay.
The other ones I could possibly believe are like Noam Chomsky manufacturing consent, where you have, the media manipulating you.
Yeah.
That's been shown to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, recently, because they showed like Sinclair, who owns the media companies, just giving. Yeah, you saw that montage.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Noam Chomsky wrote that shit like 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it was revelatory. And if you've been in the know since that time, and you watch those lectures, all of these things that are happening right now in geopolitics are no surprise to you at all.
Oh yeah, well, the thing with Noam Chomsky, I guess, in comparison, like say you're Alex Jones, is that I actually think Noam Chomsky has proven shit that has happened.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, Alex Jones, this chemical's making the frogs gay. The Democrats are starting the second Civil War.
Poor Al, he's never gonna live that one down.
Oh no, of course not.
And he doesn't.
And JFK conspiracy, that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Hell, 9/11, which I do not believe that. Like, I'm not a 9/11 truther. And
I struggle with Building 7. I struggle very hard with Building 7.
I could see that.
I struggle.
And I have gotten into many of arguments. I even almost got into a fist fight with one guy because I believe in what Popular Mechanics said.
What did Popular Mechanics say about Building 7? Or are you talking about steel girders burning with jet fuel?
Oh yeah, they gave a whole breakdown on the entire thing.
Okay, I definitely believe that the fires in that building were big enough to bring it down. But it's Building 7 that confuses me, because the guy who designed it, or what, like, there's that blurb about him saying pull it, and it's on fucking television. Like, he said, so we gave the order to pull it, and then it just cuts away from him, and it's like, wait a second, what do you mean pull it? Like, do you literally mean that this building was wired to self-destruct and you pulled it? And it's not, in my opinion, it's not that far of a stretch of the imagination to believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what was in that building. And then there's the story of Donald Rumsfeld making a press release the day before, on September 10th, about all of this missing black budget money in the Middle East just turning up gone, and then the records of that being in Building 7 at the World Trade Center, and then all of a sudden the attacks of September 11th happen, and as a result, that building is demolished intentionally. Theoretically intentionally.
Yeah. If I wanted to like really debate you, I would have to look up shit right now.
I would too, man. I would too.
Well,
it's been years since I listened to anything on this, but
Well,
I don't think that the government RC controlled some fucking planes to kill 3,000
you don't
people.
believe
I don't
Jesse
believe
Ventura where they use thermite paint to bring it down?
Yeah, dude.
Oh god.
But I think it's my interpretation at the time, because I was 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
My junior year of high school, 2011. Was I 17? I was 15 in the year 2000.
That's the conspiracy here is our
No, that
timelines.
happened in September. So February of 2001, I turned 17 years old.
Okay, but like I said, our timelines are pretty much an inside job themselves.
Yeah.
But
I just misspoke again. Yeah.
where are you hiding, Zach Elmblad? Your eyes are shifting. They're looking more
I was
reptilian.
in Miss Headkey's Earth Science class when the first plane hit the building, and then they wheeled in a television, turned on live coverage, second plane hit, and then...
I saw a second plane hit too, yeah.
And then we went to my next period class, which was Miss Gaines' Advanced American English class. It might have been American Literature. I can't remember exactly which one it was. Miss Gaines. And I was with my friends, Alex and Peter, and we are just laughing, going, why is everybody so upset about this? This shit happens all around the world all the time. Many, many more people have died for much stupider reasons, and it's time America learned how to be sensitive to this kind of bullshit and got off of our high horse.
Chickens come home to roost.
Exactly. That was the mentality I had when I was a kid.
Yeah, there was actually some professor that got into a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
But Bill O'Reilly started that shit. But God, what was I saying? Oh yeah, one reason why 9/11 conspiracy theories didn't really pop up around. I didn't really get into that much in part because from my part of Michigan, I live in Northeast Michigan. We made it very clear that
this
Muslims
Terry Nichols territory over here.
He's right.
Yeah.
He's from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he made it very clear that fucking Muslims did it. Yeah, let's just blow them all to hell. Fuck yeah, George Bush, kill them all. Yeah, that's a very, very generalized yet accurate way of thinking up there.
Yeah. Have you ever looked into the manifesto of Ted Kaczynski?
Oh yes, I've read it, and I've read as many parts as I can. And it's fucking boring. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, it's boring, but the guy makes a lot of good points.
Oh yeah, I've actually become I'm not gonna say primitivist, because I'm not going full John Zerzan here, but I've become more aware of our impact on the environment, and especially with global warming. Well, let me put it this way. Here's a real big geek reference. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original Mirage series. In the third part of the series, Volume 4, where the Turtles are now technically adults. And of course, in that comic, the Utroms, who are like the good aliens there, they don't invade Earth, but they make their presence known, and they start like interacting with human society. First, they didn't tell the humans right away that they were actually interacting because they know the effects of global warming that are going to destroy the planet. Of course, they let the Turtles in on it because they're BFS with them. Donatello, does machines, the smart one. He does become a conspiracy theorist, which is a good thing.
Really? I never followed the comic books.
No, but he becomes like very deeply concerned about it, and kind of like me, he kind of just becomes a curmudgeon about it. Like he reads these statistics, and he's like, "God, I can't fucking believe this. How do you not see this? Why aren't we not doing anything about it?" That's kind of the way I am these days, especially like with what's going on with Fukushima still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, conspiracy theories, not actual shit that's destroying the environment. oh, that's a conspiracy theory. It's all lies. Global climate change is a fucking lie. You know, this thing happened back in 1920s. You know, that proves you libtards wrong.
Yeah, dude. The thing that bothers me about conspiracy theories, maybe, or the people surrounding a lot of conspiracy theories, or the label conspiracy theory, is that I think when you put something into that category, you immediately diminish the inquisitive thought behind it. So a lot of this stuff is completely outlandish. You listed a lot of great examples. David Icke, chief among them. Hollow Earth theory, even more ridiculous than flat Earth theory. But I think what they're all pointing at is the rhetorical question, can we trust our own facts? Do we really know what happens or what happened in many situations?
Yes.
And I think that sense of inquiry is the most important part of conspiracy theories. But I think the thing that makes conspiracy theories seem silly to people or outlandish to people or unacceptable to people is that the spirit of being inquisitive is the chief virtue among conspiracy theories. Yeah. So just asking the questions is what makes you venerable in that world, not delivering answers.
Well, that's a good point, because that's another thing I noticed nearly right away, especially with guys like Jones, David Icke, Clyde Lewis, one of my personal favorites.
Mm-hmm. Not familiar with him.
I actually first heard of him because he appeared on Penn and Teller's Bullshit.
Am familiar with that.
Yeah, they did an episode on conspiracy theories, and they had him on there. Yeah, Clyde Lewis, my personal favorite. Even guys like Bill Cooper and Art Bell.
Sure.
It's, if you want to become famous, become a conspiracy theorist.
Have you watched the Behold a Pale Horse lectures, like the original lectures with Bill Cooper?
Yep, I looked them up immediately.
Very dry.
Yeah, I know.
Very dry.
I know, but it doesn't really... That's the thing with conspiracy theorists is that, especially like with the case of Alex Jones, he's fucking rich.
Very rich.
Yeah, I mean, he even did like an episode like from his fucking hot tub.
Did he?
Time. Yeah, he did.
Oh, Alex. See, I tuned out from Alex Jones around 2010, I think, and I've really probably 2008 to 2010 is when I was actively listening to Alex Jones a lot.
I know, but what I'm saying is that sense of wonder you just mentioned is an easy thing to exploit.
Yeah,
And if you go like the Jones or Icke route, then you can make a lot of fucking bank on that.
You could.
So,
and they do.
So yeah, I guess, that sense of wonder is a good thing to have, but then you could be easily exploited by it very soon. Instead of wondering, are we really alone in the universe? Mm-hmm. You're buying fucking super male vitality and I don't know, the Fallout shelter bathtubs from InfoWars.
The slowly receding capitalist in me would say caveat emptor.
Yeah, I mean, not even like the big famous ones. You could become a YouTube star that way too. Like really, I bet money that given it a couple months, you and I could become really YouTube famous with conspiracy theories.
Probably,
especially in the Trump era with the alt-right. They are entrenched in that shit. I mean, well, okay. Another reason why I don't like conspiracy theories, why I keep a big arm's length. A lot of it is just really mean-spirited, especially crisis actors. That conspiracy theory, especially. Because now we hear it in every single time there's a shooting.
Ever since Sandy Hook, it's been crisis action.
Sandy Hook was like the big realization for me. Like, especially when it comes to gun control, I am for a lot of it. Especially when it comes to like automatic shit, military-grade weaponry.
See, the stuff that bothers me about that and makes me pause before immediately dismissing the crisis actor idea is the infiltration of the Black Bloc in the Toronto Republican National Convention by police officers.
Oh yeah, that's well known.
Bothers me.
Well, yeah,
it does.
Oh yeah, Yeah, well, that's the thing too. The left's been dealing with like that shit for years now.
Yeah.
Not just recently or during the Bush years. It's been going on forever, and you never heard a peep from it from the right.
Yeah.
Some of them outright support it.
Yeah.
But well, the thing with crisis actors, well, first of all, is Sandy Hook. I forget the guy who made this tweet, but he straight up said that Sandy Hook was what proved that we will never have like really sensible gun control in this country. Because if you're cool with fucking children getting massacred, then yeah, you're not gonna care about limiting like a type of gun that's literally only been made to kill people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not there to hunt, it's not there for protection, you're just there to slaughter other human beings. But Sandy Hook also was what got, when I first really heard the whole crisis actor thing. And it was the worst one possible, because like, yeah, these children aren't actually dead. They're just in hiding.
It's really hard to believe
bullshit.
some of that stuff. It really is. The manufacturing of consent is something that we've been talking about. I'm beginning to believe that there's a manufacturing of reality in general by the mass media. And I don't consider this a conspiracy theory or a political game. I consider it to be an abstraction of society. Like, there's an idealized society that exists on television and in media, and then there's actual society that is not subject to those rules.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, I wouldn't call it mass media. I call it corporate media.
Okay,
that's
sure.
What,
yeah.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
That's why they say there's no fucking such thing as liberal media.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that are more left than others, like MSNBC compared to Fox. Mm-hmm. But they're all owned by corporate shit.
Sides of the same coin that is owned by.
So some may be better than others in your view. That's really it.
Yeah.
But like the example you gave of like Black Bloc and a lot of leftist movies, like Antifa has infiltration too.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to make a separate there. Like there's infiltrators. Then there's crisis actors too.
There is a separation.
Yeah, I think there needs to be one.
But I also think that that's symbolic, not symbolic, illustrative of the desire for those corporate entities to control activist elements.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that's where this idea of crisis actor comes, because people are starting to see that this is happening, but they can't identify where it's happening.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where it's like they're going to see every problem. They're carrying a hammer, so they see every problem as a nail. And it's not that they're crisis actors. Someone didn't pay some mom to go on David Hogg or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
No, like...
Oh, David Hogg is a crisis actor, clearly. Yeah. He's not a guy who's got out of high school and saw his classmates killed. Yeah, nope, totally on the government payroll.
Yeah,
possibly be.
And I find that really hard to believe.
I know it's just that's another thing with crisis actors and infiltrators. We on the left bitch about it. Like we'll like post a picture online, like, hey, this is clearly a cop. Here's some pictures. When it comes to crisis actors, they will fucking harass you, dox your shit, send you death threats. And there's actually Vice did a video on it. It showed like this couple who believed this shooting that happened down in Texas last year was a crisis actor thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're literally showing up at the church and they're like defacing the memorial for the people who died there. Like the wife's going up, like writing shit like, "You're not really dead," stuff like that. And they're making a big series out of it. And that's how these people are becoming famous.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, like I said, with crisis actors that I find so despicable. Kind of like with all conspiracy theories, you can just exploit these tragedies with your bullshit, and you just don't give a shit who gets in your way as long as you make that bank.
Yeah.
Hell, Alex Jones is finally getting fucking sued by parents of Sandy Hook because they say that he encouraged his followers to harass them.
And I think they've got a good case.
Yeah, they do.
They've got a great case.
I mean, you got this big motherfucker, scream who tears off his shirt and that. Saying,
Yeah.
It's all lies. The children are actually alive. They're clones or whatever.
See, now, I liked the Alex Jones that was, megaphone pointed at the vehicles of rich executives as they went to the Bilderberg meetings.
Yeah.
Like, that's the Alex Jones that I liked.
Which, by the way, you heard about that Democratic socialist in New York that I think won?
Oh, the 28-year-old kid, yeah.
Yeah, Alex Jones made a tweet saying that, a socialist was elected to this seat, bringing us closer to corporate rule.
Wait a second, Alex.
Wait
a second.
Yeah, really?
Wait a second, pal.
Yeah, So that's really all it is with me when it comes to conspiracy theories. Got into it with my occult interest and early interest in the supernatural aliens.
Yeah.
I have an interest in the subjects, but one reason I just don't engage or believe in it because a lot of it is just really right wing. I'm a leftist, and I just do not like the personalities overall. I mean, they make interesting memes, but they're horrible people who just exploit everything around them, and instead of making anything better, instead of revealing the great truths, they just wreck lives and make money off it.
Yeah.
That's just how I view conspiracy theories.
And I think that's an accurate modern view of the conspiracy theory scene, I think.
Yeah.
It's very closely associated with those sentiments.
Yeah.
And it's sad, because there are definitely things in history and in the modern world that need to be questioned. And we always need to remember that we can't take things as face value, especially when someone we don't know is telling us a fact without supporting it.
Yeah, whether it's Alex Jones on his radio show, Scream of 1776, or it's just some dudes giving you a link to a blog spot.
Yeah. The point is, arm yourself with the ability to do research yourself, and come to your own conclusions. Yeah.
Just please don't believe that blog spot. Seriously. All right. Well, damn, we were nearly Joe Rogan time. 2 hours and 56 minutes.
Cool.
You just want to put this podcast out of its misery?
Sure. Yeah, we can wrap her on up.
Yeah. Got anything? Got anything you like to advertise? Any recent projects?
I've been pretty quiet these last couple of months. We talked about Konrad Twitty. We talked about my manuscript, Normal on Trial. We talked about your new book coming out.
Yep, Lycan Strikes coming out in August, probably near the end.
Yeah. Other than that, everything that I have right now is theoretical. I don't really have anything that I'm planning on putting out. I'm working on some new art, which you can see behind you, and you cannot see on a podcast, but it's a series called In Sections, and I'm looking at the interface between man and nature, and then also non-traditional photographic mounting substrates.
Yep. Yeah, everyone, you should come down during Art Hop to the Elmblad Media Group Studios at the Park Trade Center.
Yep.
And see you perform with Konrad Tweedy Band around Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo within these next upcoming months.
Absolutely.
Check them out, Facebook, Bandcamp. And a quick memorial, it may not have been very evident in this episode, but I am filled with great sadness throughout this day because I'm a very nostalgic guy, and one of the things I like to do when I come to Kalamazoo is go through WMU because they have the ring road. Mm-hmm. I'm very sad to have seen that they tore down the Elmwood apartments there.
Oh, really?
Yep, the low cost, I think they're technically the lowest cost student living spaces there. Mm-hmm. And I lived there for about a year and a half. And yeah, I'm very sad to see it go.
Can't stop progress.
Yeah, if I only just learned of it today. I was like, wait, what the fuck? And I looked up online and read a news story about it. Mm. God, if I only knew this was gonna happen earlier, I probably would have gone like John Whitty did against some of the stuff on was it East Campus?
Yeah.
I would have started a coalition to save it. I would have spray painted it.
Yeah. This is a good question for us to cover next time. Do we destroy our past or do we preserve it? It's a very important question.
But if I only knew this was going to happen, I would have spray painted it. I would have made a folk punk album out of it.
God bless John Whitty.
I'm kidding, John. I love you, man. But yeah, well, so yeah, rest in peace, Elmwood Apartments at WMU.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening, folks. That concludes this episode of the Garret Schuelke podcast. I am Garret Schuelke. Check out all the links at the bottom of the description. We are now on the Internet Archive because I don't feel like paying SoundCloud $15 a month. You know, I should have done that from the get-go. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me on. God damn it.
Well,
I gotta go get something to eat for dinner. I'm stroking out here.
yeah, I need to go. Yeah,
you got.
I'm having a hard day too. Garrett woke me up today. I was late for this podcast.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. You gotta get a good nap in.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Zach, for
Of course.
being on and for hosting.
Anytime.
And thank you all for listening. I'm gonna try to get back next month. I'm in talks with my friend Andy Argo. We want to talk, especially near the middle or the end of next month, because that's when the candidate elections for the Democrat and Republican race for governor ends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both of us are Abdullah El Sayed guys.
Okay.
And we want to have a big discussion on that, and probably a lot of other things. So I'll see what Andy's up to then.
Cool.
And that's it, folks. Have a good day, and here's the outro song.
Get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget. Get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget. Ad nauseum, ad infinitum. Stop making plans. Ad nauseum, ad infinitum. Stop making plans and get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget and get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget. Solo couches and shaking floors, empty bottles and unlocked doors. Wake up, get up, wake up, and get up, get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget. Get up, get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget. And get up, get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget. And get up, get forgotten. Get to sleep to forget.